It's time for Shawn and Maya in the morning.
Quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it, he's out of it at 25 and the 26-yard line. Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship. Chicago has won the Stanley Cup. Palmero over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws, out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo.
It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this House Music Monday edition, Bears season ending edition as well. Guys, I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. Thanks for tuning in. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. You know what? And if you're watching this on another platform, make sure you follow us on Facebook. Follow us at SportsZone Chicago. If you're watching us on our app, well, then I guess you found us on the app. And if you have not downloaded the app, make sure you do that. So wherever you get your apps from, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, wherever you need your apps, you get your apps from, download SportsZone Chicago. And if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, well, thank you very much. And I guess you found us on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. You can subscribe at SportsZone Chicago. Now, you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings or at SportsZone Shy. That's CHI at SportsZone Shy. Now, if you want to follow me, just me, personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you, folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. If you want to follow my lovely co-host, Maya Akai, you can follow her on Facebook and Twitter at the Sports Chica. And if you do it just for the gram, you want to follow her on IG, just follow her at Maya_Akai. MAYA_AKAI. Wow, do we have a big, big, big show, but we need you to get interactive. And man, the text lines are already burning up. Vernon, what's up, Papa? How are you? Vernon already talking about it. Eric, good morning, sir. How are you doing? Armando Alada Jr., what's up? Fire nagging. I hear you. I hear you. We got it. It's on and popping already. It's on and popping already. So wherever you're watching us from, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, if you're watching us on the app, or if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, either of those places or any of those places, just leave a question or comment right there on that platform. And guess what? It'll come up here. My guy, the man, the myth, the legend, we'll get it up on our screen. I want to say what's up to our boy. He is the whiz. He is the man behind the curtain, the man that makes it all runs. We call him the whiz. I call him my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. Ivan, what's
Shawn, are you there? You're frozen again.
What's up, Papa? I was wondering.
Yeah, you got frozen again for a second. What's up, dude? Good morning. Hey, the Bulls had a game last night.
They did.
The Bulls had a game last night. You didn't know it was NBA season?
it officially is now.
Was there another game on yesterday?
It officially is now NBA season, that's for sure.
Hey, you know what? The Bulls should be in the NBA with the amount of threes that they hit. It's atrocious.
Well, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Listen, we got a great show for you. But like I said, I need you to get interactive. Keep it up. Eric Thomas, fire them all. I hear you, Papa. I hear you. Listen, when I say we got a great show, I am not bull jiving. 10 o'clock, Lester Will Fong Jr. Well, first of all, you know the usual cast of characters. All right, 10 o'clock. All right, 9 o'clock, Joseph Phillips is about to join us any moment for the top of the morning segment. And then at 10 o'clock, Ken Davis takes the baton from 10 to 11. Then at 11 o'clock for the anchor leg, Jason Palmer. We welcome some guests today. 10 o'clock, Lester Will Fong Jr. Okay. Lester Will Fong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron is going to call in. We're going to talk Bears. There's a lot of questions I have for Lester. A lot of questions for Lester. That's at 10 o'clock. Then at 11 o'clock, David Kenyon from Bleacher Report's calling in. We're going to talk. There is another football game on today, the College Football National Championship game tonight. Ohio State versus Roll Damn Tide versus Alabama. Should be a great game. Most people think it won't be a game. It's all going to be Roll Tide. But we're going to see. We're going to talk to David Kenyon at 11 o'clock. And then to close out the show at 11:30, Joshua Hicks from War Media is going to call in, and we're going to talk Bulls. As Ivan mentioned, there was a Bulls game yesterday. The Bulls are on their West Coast trip and doing pretty good. Some games good, some games not so good. More not so good than good right now. But I mean, I'm telling you, I like where this team's going. It's just going to take a while. Remember, there was no training. No, the training camp was nothing. They had 2 preseason games. They haven't played since March. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. So we have to kind of stick with the plan of what we see, what we know that or what we anticipate they're going to be, and it's going to be a little rough at first. But I think once they start gelling, once they start getting their roles, and accepting those roles, I think this can be a pretty good team, a pretty exciting team. We've seen that. So that's 11 o'clock. That's 11:30. So remember, Lester Wilfong Jr. 10 o'clock. David Kenyon, Lester Wilfong talking Bears. David Kenyon at 11. He's talking College Football National Championship, and Josh Hicks at 11:30 talking Bulls. Yesterday was one for the ages, and this is why we need Nagy gone. Okay. This is exactly why we need Nagy gone. There are certain things you do, and it allows you to see, okay, there's this person. You leave your fingerprints all over things. Okay. And yesterday was one of them. You had a situation where I was just not happy. Just not happy with the play calling. I was not happy with a lot of things. Time management. I was not happy with effort. I was not happy with discipline. I was not happy of awareness of down and distance. It was frustrating yesterday for me for quite a few reasons. Okay, and I'm definitely going to get into those today. But you know what? Before we do that, I want to bring out my guy. We're started off, and you know how we do the first segment of every show. It's called Top of the Morning to You. And these are the hot topics of the night before, or just of sports in general. And boy, oh boy, do we have some doozies. And with that, I bring out their guy. I bring out our guy. I bring out your guy. This is the guy you can find on Twitter at ACA Joe. Guys, let's bring him out. Joe Phillips. Joseph, what's up, Papa?
What's up, Papa? God bless.
How you doing?
I'm feeling great this morning. Feeling great this morning.
Yeah,
hey, just
good.
Always remember this, Shawn. And this is in the words of Tom Thayer, a.k.a. Super Bowl 20 champion. When it comes to the playoffs, there's only one team that goes home happy, and that's the Super Bowl winners. Everybody else takes a L. So, trust me, we won't be the only one going home abruptly. But the goal is to win the Super Bowl. And I don't think this team was ready to do that. Period. And Matt Nagy sabotaged Mitch Trubisky, unfortunately, because instead of him playing to win, he's playing for his job. Coaching for his job, which is going conservative and not taking any risks. So I think once he got the word that he was here to stay, That's when he went back to a conservative style of play. I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, guys, you know how we do this. Again, the first segment of every show is called Top of the Morning. The first top of the morning topic, as you know, there's no other way around it. The Bears, they get trounced. They get bounced from the playoffs 21-9 yesterday in New Orleans. Their season is officially over. And now the multitude of questions begin. There are a lot of different things that are on the table for next year. We'll start at the top. Does the president of football operations, Ted Phillips, stay? The general manager, Ryan Pace, stay? Does the head coach, Matt Nagy, stay? Do the Bears re-sign their starting quarterback, Mitch Trubisky? Do the Bears sign their free agent wide receiver, Allen Robinson? There are so many different things at play here. It won't be answered in one. It's going to take the entire offseason to be answered. Now, I was extremely upset yesterday. And one of my friends, my cousin, posted on Facebook yesterday and said, "Come on, cuz, you didn't think the Bears actually could win?" And I said, "Yeah, they did. They had everything necessary. Okay. But they weren't ready. They weren't prepared. And that was evident by the drop pass by Javon Wims. That puts the Bears up 10-7. It's different when you're playing with a lead than when you're playing from behind. This is a situation you can't have that. First of all, Javon Wims has history in New Orleans when he got suspended for punching and just sucker punching defensive back. And now he goes back there, scene of the crime, and he has a drop so critical, so crucial that pretty much defined the game. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is the DB, but that's what he does. He is an antagonist. He got under Javon Wims' skin. He got under Anthony Miller's skin yesterday, and Anthony Miller decided it was my turn to go punch him in the face. So he does that. He gets ejected. This lack of discipline is something that cannot go on in any football team that desires to be great. And the fact that Matt Nagy is allowing this is a scathing indictment of him and why he needs to be gone. Joseph, you talk to me a little bit on your feelings, because I know I'm going to end up getting fired up again today. I really am. I'm trying to save a blood vessel for later, because I'm about to get to 10 in the snap of the fingers, and I just thought that the effort that they put forth yesterday was embarrassing by the offense. I think the defense balled out, and I think it was another example of Nagy and his stupid ass little grubby, dirty fingers all over this offense, because that was pure Nagy offense. He might have called that whole game yesterday. He might have called the whole God blessed game, because there was no rhythm, no rhyme. Where's the underpass? Where's the tight end underpass that it works so well, where the tight end's lined up on the left side, you fake a handoff to the left, and the tight end slide. He comes across the formation, and it's an option with the quarterback and the tight end. Where was that yesterday? That was a Bill Lazor play, and that was nowhere to be seen. So let me tell you, this was a Nagy call, and this is the thing that I was really pissed about, Joseph, because once we had JJ Stankovic from NBC Sports Chicago on the show last week, and he told us, he said Nagy is safe. He said Nagy is safe. So he will be back next year. And if you listen to the press conference, if you listen to the confidence that he had in that press conference, he knows he's back. He has been told that he's been back. If you listen to it, because other times there'll be a little more somber statements and tone. Nagy was confident and cocky about him doing things next year, and that caused just what I was afraid of. Just what I was afraid of. And I said on Friday, if he knows he's back, he's going to take over a lot more. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. I have 3 bullet points when it comes to the Bears' performance on Sunday. Number 1, Matt Nagy coaching decisions. Number 2, Matt Nagy pretty much sabotaging Mitch Trubisky's career, including Sunday. And then number 3, Javon Wims dropped touchdown pass. And the reason why I said number 3, Javon Wims dropped touchdown pass, because it was like a microcosm of the Bears season. Okay. You came up short in the
Get out
big
of my
moment.
head, Joseph. Get out of my head, Joseph. Get out of my head. That was exactly what I was thinking.
You came up short in a big moment. When you had them, okay? You had a chance to make an impact. You had a chance to change the momentum of the game, but you didn't. And that's been the Bears season in a nutshell. When he dropped that ball, I think every Chicago Bears fan felt, okay, this game is over, okay? Because you don't get that many chances like that. And then in addition to that, when it comes to Anthony Miller, who was given a second chance with Darnell Mooney being out, instead, what does he do? He pretty much tells the coach, look, I don't need this organization. After he was told to watch out for the quote-unquote instigating from the corner this week, he was told, he was warned, and he still retaliated. So someone's not paying attention in film class, okay? So you know what that's going to lead to? That's going to probably lead to him being cut, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, once again, Shawn, in the words of Tommy Thayer, okay, when it comes to the playoffs, there's only one team that's going home happy, and that's the Super Bowl champs. And now, sorry, Green Bay, but us as Bears fans, we are now cheering against you again. Hopefully you lose.
Some of the things that were called yesterday were beyond me, just beyond me. The Anthony Miller, I believe, has played his way out of Chicago, from his lack of hustle, from his throwing his hands up in the air when he doesn't get the ball, passes, from his injuries, from his selfish play and me first attitude. I think he's gone. And I don't have a problem with it. He's very talented, but he's never been able to corral and harness that talent to be consistently good, consistently productive. So you know what? You could take all those things that you got right there, Papa, and you could take them and go find another team. And if you blow up on another team, okay, great. C'est la vie. But you weren't doing it here, and that's what we really care about. Okay. The fact that he went after CJ Garner Johnson is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Completely. You talked about it, Joseph. They were told this. They know what his job is. He is an antagonist. He gets in your head and gets you out of your game. So the fact of the matter is that's coaching. That's a big thing to do with coaching when you have to retaliate and haul off and hit someone because he said your mama sucks or your mama's fat or whatever the hell he said. Okay. You've got to maintain control. You've got to maintain control of your emotions. Okay. Because I don't remember who said that, but it was a Bruce Lee. So he who controls your emotions controls you. So therefore he got under his skin. He got Anthony Miller to hit him in the helmet again, I don't understand why you hit people in the helmet. If you want to make a statement, hit him in the neck, hit him somewhere, but don't hit him in the face mask that's steel wrapped in rubber. It's just not a smart move. You're going to get the worst end of it every single time. It's suspended. So it takes his talents off the field, which hurts his teammates. And this is the discipline. How many times did we jump offside yesterday? Akeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson, all these guys. You have to stay disciplined. We don't have that on our team. It's his culture. And I'll tell you what, there's a clip that Mitch Trubisky, there's a tweet from Dan Wiederer. Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. And it talked about, it encompassed, it was a quote from Mitch Trubisky. Ivan, you got that? It was a quote from Mitch Trubisky, and it takes a shot right at Matt Nagy. It said, there's a lot of things we need to do better. A lot of things we need to change. And a lot of it is the culture and what we accept and what we don't. A lot of it is the culture.
Ooh.
It's the culture, the coach. And you've heard Trubisky take shots at Matt Nagy already. And this is this was another chance for him to do so, and he did, which leads me to believe that he's probably not going to be back. Right. Because if him and Nagy can't see eye to eye, then Nagy's the head coach. Nagy's egotistical, he's arrogant, he's pompous, and we see that by the fact that he can't keep his dirty little hands offense. He has to call the offense. And look what happened. How many points did we score? We scored 9 points. 9 points. Three of them.
That's garbage. I can't count it, Shawn. That's 3.
He got 9 points. They scored 9. It was a great catch. It wasn't as if it was wide open. It wasn't if they gave up. The dude was right there. It was a phenomenal one-handed catch by Jimmy Graham. It was a phenomenal catch. It wasn't. They didn't just let him go. He was being covered. They were fighting. They were playing.
Well, if that's
9 points.
If that's the case, then we scored 10, I guess. Okay, because they didn't even kick an extra point.
Well, that's why we didn't score 10.
All I'm saying.
Jimmy took the ball and ran out of the damn stadium.
I thought that was classic.
Hey, shout out to Jimmy Graham, man. If this was his last game in NFL history, he went out the way he came in. A one-hand ruthless catch in the end zone. Overpowering 2 guys. That pretty much sums up his career, okay? But at the end of the day, like I said, Matt Nagy sabotaged Mitch Trubisky this game, okay? I warned you guys. We warned each other, actually. We said, hey, if he gets his hands back on the playbook, it's going to be revenge time. And you know what revenge time means for him, okay? At the end of the day, I'm going to do 3-yard passes. I'm going to do – you see that play that he ran when he started off the game, or I guess our first offensive possession, with a 5-yard pass in the backfield. I knew we were in trouble. Remember that play, Shawn?
No, because I was driving to my location at the game.
Oh, no. That's how we started off the game. I knew we were in trouble. I knew Matt Nagy was controlling the playbook. It was the first offensive play. Maybe Ivan saw it. I don't know if he's seen it.
Oh, you talk about – oh, no. I don't know. I don't remember.
Well,
okay, cool. Okay.
What was the play?
It was the first offensive play of the game, and he threw a 5-yard pass in the backfield.
Yeah.
It for like 1 yard, or probably got back to the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
He started off the game gimmicky. Again, it's in true Nagy fashion is how they started the game.
Exactly. So this is how I knew he was still controlling the playbook, because he was so proud of it. He was like, oh, gee, Batman. Like it was kind of like this old school, like I got a trick up my sleeve, but it's like the most obvious trick of them all. Kids don't even fall for it, okay? It was over for us from the beginning. The Bears came in with a losing mentality. The defense actually played one of their best games of the season. What I'm saying, I'm talking about against a top opponent, because they held them to 7 points over 3 quarters. We were still in the game. But eventually, they probably got mentally tired because the offense went back to the Stone Ages. They started doing the same stuff over and over again. They wasn't rolling out Mr. Trubisky. They made Mr. Trubisky a pocket quarterback. Then they made him a shotgun quarterback. He was stuck in mud. He could not run. And then the play that he did run, it was so obvious. You gave the defense time to set up, because you called a timeout previously before it happened. So this is typical Matt Nagy. He's bullied Bill Lazor. He's bullied Mr. Trubisky. And now he's bullying Bears fans because he's getting his way, because there's possibility that he'll be back next season.
He's got to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's got to go. And the fact that Miguel Montes, he chimed in and he said Nagy never wanted to coach the kid. Yeah, then he shouldn't have taken the job. You knew what you were getting. You knew, first of all, you knew what he was with, what you were working with when you had when you were with Kansas City, because you did your homework on the kid. It's when the same year you drafted Mahomes, and so when you knew what this kid was about, you knew it. So for him to come here and realize that he didn't want to coach this kid, that's on him. And maybe it was part of his big plan. Maybe, especially after the first year. Okay, if you didn't want Trubisky, then don't come here.
Right.
But after the first year, he thought that Mitch was going to be better than he was because he had a great first year, 12-4 playoffs. But then I think his ego just took over, and I think you're right. The sabotaging of Mitch Trubisky was done by Nagy, and it's unfortunate. It really, really is. It's truly, truly unfortunate, because this kid could have been a much better than serviceable quarterback, but you ripped his confidence. His confidence is gone. You stomped on it. You pissed on it, and you threw it away. No confidence, and it's unfortunate because now we don't have a quarterback for next year. Nick Foles is signed, but do you expect Nick Foles to do as well as Trubisky? I don't know. Apparently they are, because that bugs me is that his lack of mobility, and that's going to be a big factor. It's going to be a big factor going into next year. Whether Trubisky is signed again to come back, I don't know. I don't know if he's done enough. But I will tell you this, that Matt Nagy is going to have a big part in that decision as to whether or not he comes back. Well, listen, we got to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to have more top of the morning topics. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Breeze fakes it. Looking for someone to throw to under pressure. He dumps it underneath. Latavius Murray at the 5 across the goal line. Touchdown!
Saints radio with the call. New Orleans pulled away for a 21-9 win over the Bears. New Orleans moving on to a divisional round matchup in the Superdome with Tampa Bay. Two of the oldest quarterbacks in the league will square off. 43-year-old Tom Brady for Tampa and the Saints' Drew Brees, who turns 42 this coming Friday. The Chicago offense struggled against the fourth-ranked defense in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29 passing for 199 yards. His lone touchdown pass went to Jimmy Graham as time expired. Chicago held to just 48 rushing yards. In Sunday's NBA action, the Clippers nipped the Bulls 130 to 127. Chicago drops to 4-7 with a setback. This update brought to you by the Score app. Download the free Score app today. It's one of the most popular sports apps in North America. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares Sweepstakes is back. Every time the score changes, someone wins $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends February 4th. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030. The NFL is not sponsored promotion in any way.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. We're smack dab in the middle of our first segment, and that is the top of the morning segment. We'll talk Bears for a short time, and then we have to move on. But the next top of the morning topic: does Matt Nagy stay? Your thoughts, Joseph?
Well, as I've always said, Shawn, to you, Maya, and Ivan, and the rest of the SportsZone Chicago fans, the Bears are tweeners. They're not good enough to win a championship, and they're not bad enough to earn a first-round pick. Why are they like that? There are two guys to blame. Number one, Ryan Pace. Number two, Matt Nagy. Okay? At the end of the day, they have to go. Now, I feel that the fans kind of took their foot off the gas once the Bears went on their 3-game winning streak. We kind of went back into our comfort zone feeling like, oh, everything's okay. Everything's back to normal. But in actuality, we kind of fooled ourselves because while we were celebrating and clapping, Matt Nagy was slowly putting his fingers back on the playbook so that he could take credit for their progress. So, should Matt Nagy have to go? I believe so. I don't ever wish for a man to lose his job, but at the end of the day, when you purposely violating rules on the job and you purposely sabotaging people on the job, then you have to go. Period.
Yeah, he definitely needs to go. And my thing is this: it's got to be a complete removal. I mean, we got to get in there deep and get everybody. Ted Phillips, if you're the president of football operations, okay, this goes to show you how incompetent and how this guy has just been taking money for doing not a damn thing. If this is your job to find a general manager, why did you go out and hire an outside source in Eddie Accorsi? That's your job. Your job was to hire a general manager. So he's unqualified for his job because he went to a third party to go find someone. And you can say, well, in business, people have headhunters and this and this. Spare me. Okay. If you understand your job, then you go and you find your general manager. You don't hire someone else to consult with. You should know where the organization is. You should know the philosophy of the organization. You should know what their values are and what kind of coach aligns to those values so you can get the right guy. This is all that needs to be done by the president of football operations, Ted Phillips, and it wasn't. So it's got to go all the way. That's got to be cleaned out all the way up to his seat.
Where our only hope is that Ted Phillips retire.
Which is a rumor.
Before we hire Ryan Pace, they went up and gave Bill Polian a call. And remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but they was like the Bears looking for a football consultant to hire their next GM. And I guess they did like these surveys and had these conversations with GMs from across the NFL. And I guess this is how they came up with hiring Ryan Pace. But the thing that I was concerned about is that he had no experience at running a team prior to that. He was a part of a team to help get to a Super Bowl, but he wasn't part of that foundation, like you were telling me earlier, to help develop Drew Brees or to help develop the talent that was on that roster. Now, the Bears are in a situation again where this organization is going in circles. And now, as we requested earlier in the season, that there should be another football team in Chicago to compete against them. That's the only way they're going to make changes, because if we don't bring another football team here to compete against them, they're going to continue to do the same thing to us every season.
They are. And I don't think there's going to be another team here, but I think just in dealing with the one that we have, there's just so many different things, so many different angles, so many different storylines that we can go after. And Ted Phillips is one of them. Ryan Pace is another. Matt Nagy is another one. Mr. Trubisky's another one. Allen Robinson's another one. There's so many different storylines that we have to go through. For me, the biggest one is Matt Nagy. I just don't want him around. You know what? If he was if he was able to show that he's able to keep his fingers out off the play calling, then I would want him back and let Bill Lazor do it. Yesterday, he had, if you look at the game plan yesterday, and I understand that New Orleans has a good defense, okay? But we were in that game, okay? Which means there's no reason to stop the run whatsoever. None. 12 times, I believe David Montgomery carried the ball. 12 times. That's not a Bill Lazor called game. That isn't. You see the last couple games, he had 20 the last game of the season against Green Bay, he had 22 carries. Game before that, Jacksonville, he had 23 carries. Game before that, Minnesota, he had 32 carries. Okay, so those are Bill Lazor called games, and you can tell he stuck to the run. Yesterday's 12 carries? Come on, man. Yesterday's 12 carries just shows you that it is indeed Matt Nagy calling those plays. And I was listening to a guy yesterday on the score, and he was the host, and he was saying, an older gentleman, he was saying, oh, there's, he doesn't believe in conspiracy theories, and he said Matt Nagy's not calling the plays. I swear to God, I almost jumped through that car, through the radio. I was about to call him and say, "What the frick are you looking at?" He said, Matt Nagy is not calling the plays. And I said, wait a minute. That was already confirmed last week by Ian Rappaport, that Matt Nagy has had a bigger role in calling the plays again. So for him to say that was erroneous, and it is just not being good at your job. Not being good at your job. So here's my thought. Get rid of everybody. Okay, it's going to be a situation where now the Bears are going to have to rebuild. So if you can start trading pieces from that defense, start trading pieces from that defense. Go about it in the draft. Get draft picks. You need draft capital. Get a slew of draft picks. You can go get younger guys who are cheaper, and that's the bottom line. You need cheap right now. You need talented guys who are cheap. You need to win. You need to do exactly what the Seattle Seahawks did. You need to win. You need to find a great quarterback, and you need to win in his rookie contract before he gets paid the big bucks, because then you're not going to have enough money for any other stars that you have. So I don't know. I'm annoyed. I am fired up. I'm going to get more fired up at 10 o'clock with Lester. And I'm trying not to too crazy right now because it's early.
I know, Shawn. It's very frustrating to keep watching the Bears doing the same stuff over and over again and thinking it's going to succeed. That's called insanity. You know these plays didn't work in the beginning of the season, so what makes you think those plays are going to work in the playoffs? It's the same old stuff. Matt Nagy, and Matt Nagy.
That's it. Well, moving on to the next top of the morning topic, as we're going to continue our Bears talk at the top of the hour with Lester Wilfong Jr. The next top of the morning topic, your boy, the baby. Was it the young babe they call him? Baby Babe Ruth?
Little babe.
Kyle Schwarber signs a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Washington Nationals. Is it me, or does that team look like they're trying to compete and trying to contend? Did you ever think that Kyle Schwarber would be gone as a Cub from the Chicago Cubs organization?
Well, when he first got here, he was untouchable. This man was hitting everything in sight. And especially when he hit that home run on the scoreboard against St. Louis in the 2015 playoffs. That was unbelievable. But after the knee injury and his big performance in the World Series, his play has gone downhill, and I think his confidence had too. But I knew that he was going to be signed, but I didn't know that a former Cub was going to sign him. And that was Davey Martinez. Because who else better knows Kyle Schwarber than Davey Martinez, who pretty much helped Schwarber make his transition from playing rookie ball to being a pro and eventually winning a World Series championship in 2016 prior to him leaving and going to the Nationals, probably I think the following year, 2017, 2018. So nice pickup by Davey. I hope he does well over there. He's been added in the lineup along with Soto. I believe Soto is over there. They're one of the top hitters in Major League Baseball. And they got that power replacement in addition to that. Very similar to like a Bryce Harper type hitter, who can, he got that little uppercut swing, but he may not hit a lot consistently for average. But I think he's gonna, by him getting a new start and all this pressure taken off of him to be that next big thing, I think he's gonna fit perfectly in that Washington Nationals lineup.
I think so too. I think it's you start to see the pieces are gone and are moving, and it's only a matter of time that I don't care what you say on the north side. It's not a retooling. You're going to rebuild, because if you're not in contention this year, you're going to look to, and maybe even if someone gives you a good offer in the middle of the year, you're going to let go of Bryant. All right, this is the last year of his contract. You don't want to let him walk for nothing. So something has to be done. I don't know I doubt he wants to sign here with Chicago. Although they have been doing right by him and paying him more than his whatever he was awarded in arbitration in the last couple of seasons. They've gone above and beyond whatever that was, just in show of good faith is what it would look like. So whether he stays or goes, I don't know. I don't know, but I just see it's a different team up on the north side right now. They're in a different place, and I just think that they're rebuilding. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's going to, as long as Cub fans realize that, I think they'll be fine. They still have a lot of talent, but I think they're also rebuilding as well. When there's a lot of rumors floating around about Jose Contreras. I'm sorry, Wilson Contreras. Jose was my White Sox. Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras being traded to some other, but maybe the Mets, maybe somebody else. But there's a lot of rumors about that goes. So if you get Wilson Contreras traded, man.
Or maybe the Angels. Maybe the Angels.
Angels, yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, at the end of the day, the Cubs are looking for high contact hitters that can put the ball not just in play, but they can hit, spread the ball across the field and mix it in with a little power. Now, we are competing in the week National Central, but we shouldn't lower our standards to the competition. We still need to add some guys in there that can at least allow us to compete until we hit free agency again and all of this COVID stuff passed over, which is hopefully generating that TV money, bringing that in, and going after some free agents who can, pretty much come in here and carry this team. Like I said, I think the Cubs kind of sat on their hands over the past 4 seasons due to that World Series. I think we got complacent. I think a lot of the young guys, they started to develop egos, and it caught up with them because you can't talk about being the best. You got to go out there and be the best. And I hope that these changes will send a message to help sustain their careers if they decide to play in other places.
Okay, well, it's going to be definitely a different look on the north side this year. Moving on to the next top of the morning topic. Corey Crawford has retired. Corey Crawford signed a deal with the New Jersey Devils. I want to say it's 2 years, $10 million is what I believe the contract was. And then last week he took a leave of absence from the New Jersey Devil organization. And yesterday he retired. Corey has a history, a bad history with concussions. I didn't want him to play this season. I'm happy. I'm happy that he's not playing. I'm happy his career is over. He's got a wife and a young kid to look after, and it's not worth being a vegetable. It really isn't. It's not worth you can't hold your son. You can't play with your son. It was time. It was time before last season. Okay. But at least he's still in good health. But yeah, so Crow is one of the best goalies in Chicago history. I was saying he's in the top 3. We're going to miss him. but this is definitely what he needed to do for his family.
Yeah, I think he was leaning toward that. The way he played in the playoffs with the Blackhawks, I think that was his last big effort. It seemed like it was like, hey, if this is my last year, I'm gonna go all out, and he did. And what better way to retire than to retire? And eventually I know he's gonna come back home, but to retire as a Blackhawk, because I know once the news got out, the Blackhawks was like, okay, let's get him back home. We know that he told New Jersey, thanks but no thanks. But I think the Blackhawks got something in plan for Corey, to retire him, just for all the hard work that he did over the years.
Oh yeah. They're definitely going to do something. His number 50 might even end up in the rafters. It might be that number may end up being retired. Who knows? You have a guy who was underrated, a guy who was doing the best goalies in the NHL and still didn't give the respect he deserved. You get a guy who was a Vezina Trophy finalist. You have a guy who has 2 Stanley Cups in his back pocket that he was a huge part of obtaining. It's not as if he was, a backup goalie. It's not as if he was just on the roster. There were times, especially in Nashville in, I want to say 2013, 2015, where Nashville was tough. And Corey Crawford saved that series by himself. He was on his head all games. The entire game he was on his head, just making phenomenal stop after phenomenal stop after phenomenal stop. So this guy, it's a shame to see him retire. It's actually bittersweet. I'm glad he's retiring before the health issues, but I am going to miss having Corey Crawford between the pipes for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Shawn is one deflection away from 3, man. Away from 3. Corey Crawford was standing on his head for a few years to save goals to the Blackhawks, and he would do it time and time again in the regular season and especially in the playoffs. And I think you're right. I think jersey retirement is the direction they should head, because he gave his all to the organization. You know what I mean? Like he really did. Got no respect league wide, but for what he did for that team, it was nothing short of amazing at points, man. It really was. I think he deserves it.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, finish, Joseph.
No, I'm just saying. Even though he almost signed with Jersey, but
he did sign with him. He signed with him.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, even though he signed with Jersey, the good thing is us as Blackhawks fans will never see him in another jersey, but a Blackhawks jersey. So he went out. Hey, I didn't have to play in another jersey throughout my career, because the only colors that I wore was red, black, and white with the Indian logo on it. So, hey, shout out to one of the loyal ones in Corey Crawford.
Yeah, I'm really wondering what caused that decision. Was the concussions? Was it or was he just tired? There comes a point in time when you're playing a sport, and I've crossed that bridge. When you're playing a sport where you just get tired, you don't have the will to prepare. See, the will to win is not the most important thing. The will to win is the will to compete and to prepare. Do you have the will to prepare? Because you don't just go out there and stop 37 shots without preparing. So you have to love and fall in love with the process. If you can fall in love with the process, then you can play as long as you want. And I did. I played till I was 40, but my 40 going into that last year, I'm like, this is going to be it. And I could tell my workouts weren't as intense as they should be. My performance on the field wasn't as good as it should be. And I knew it was time. It was just time, nothing more, nothing less. And I'm hoping that's the only reason for Crow, is that it's just time. It's just time for him to stop, time for him to move on, time for him to be a dad, time for him to get in the TV booth and be an analyst, which I think he would be phenomenal at. It's just time. It's just time sometimes, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, and come work for the Blackhawks. We'll love to have you in this rebuild.
That would be a great thing, if nothing else, just to be an ambassador. But I think he'll be able to get, and I wouldn't be surprised if NBC Sports Chicago nabs him for the Blackhawks pre and post game.
Yeah, perfect. That would be perfect.
He has a great personality. He's funny. He's witty. I think he'll slide right into the announcer's booth seamlessly. I think Crowbird's got it like that. He's just one of those types of guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead and shout out to.
I know. I was just saying, shout out to Crow. You'll be missed.
Yeah, don't go too far, man. Come back to Chicago. Stay living around here. I'd love to see you out and have a drink or something. Well, the next top of the morning topic, the college football national championship game is tonight.
Woo!
Ohio State versus Roll Damn Tide versus Alabama. Alabama has like 75 guys going to the pros. Ohio State has like 30 guys going to the pros. This game has the makings of an all-time classic. Your thoughts, Joe?
Well, I said this, and I said this early in the season. Even though Ohio State didn't play a lot of games, but one thing that has allowed them to be who they are is that offensive line. And I think if they run that ball, they have a chance to compete tonight against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Alabama's bringing in the top receiver in the world, one of the top receivers in the country. So they're going to attack their secondary, and also they're going to attack with their running game. So at the end of the day, I got Bama edging out Ohio State tonight, but I'm a Big Ten guy, and you can never doubt a Big Ten team.
I got Bama winning it all the way. I just think Alabama's too strong, but that's why you play the games. Alabama could be off today, and Ohio State could be on. But I just think nine times out of 10, Alabama's going to win this game. They are too talented. They are far too talented. From the wide receiving room that they have over there, we have one guy who's one of the Heisman. You have other guys in there who are studs as well. I just think that they are far too powerful and way too talented for Ohio State. And Ohio State is very talented, but they just don't have it like Alabama does. Alabama has a reputation. Alabama has the hardware. Alabama has basically they have it. I can't see Alabama losing tonight. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, Ohio State, most people had them losing to Clemson, but hey, they came out and pretty much, struck the first blow against a Clemson team that pretty much, dominated Notre Dame, in the final game, their final game against Notre Dame. And they a few weeks ago, played well against their bowl competition. So, Ohio State, I don't think they're going to be any pushovers, but at the end of the day, like you said, Alabama got all the resources in the house that will make them a national champion.
Yeah, they have the ability to send you to the pros. That's why they get all that top talent. And 4 or 5 guys go because they know that they're going to be in a good position to make it to the league. And once you get there, then obviously it's a whole other story. But I'm interested. I'm going to watch it tonight. I want to see how this Ohio State team does. They like to run the ball. They got a good quarterback in Chase Fields. Justin Fields. I'm looking forward to seeing how he can handle that Alabama pressure. Alabama has been sending like D tackles to the league for the last 20 years. Lord have mercy. And he's gonna have to be on his game. He's gonna have to be until he knows that defensive line from Alabama is stymied. He's gonna have to probably run the ball. Maybe first or second read and then run. Where later in the game it could be first, second, third check down and then run. But I think his ability to run is going to be a huge factor for the Buckeyes.
That's correct. And I think Alabama's bench, their defensive bench, can start on an NFL team. So shout out to the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, that's going to be something else. Well, moving on. The next top of the morning topic. It's not Chicago, but I thought it was pretty interesting. LaMelo Ball, one of the Vars boys. Oh, that LeVar boy. LeVar Ball has his second son in the NBA, LaMelo. And LaMelo Ball becomes the youngest player in the history of the NBA to record a triple-double. 21 points, 12 assists, 11 dimes, 22 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. In a 113-105 win over the Atlanta Hawks yesterday. I just thought that was cool. I thought that was good stuff. I just did. So
the Big Baller brand, the Big Baller brand product just skyrocketed after hearing that triple double being announced this week.
Yeah, it definitely he's fired up. Well, the next top of the morning topic, the last one, is the Bulls. Tough game against the Los Angeles Clippers yesterday. The Bulls get edged out by the Clippers. Despite they get edged out 117-115 despite 45 from Zach LaVine. This team is trying to fight. And I think and Zach LaVine is one heck of a leader right now. He's leading the way, and he just fell a little short against a really good team in the LA Clippers.
Yeah, they had a chance to win all 4 of those games. At the end of the day, look at Miguel, you're so funny. At the end of the day, they found ways to beat themselves. Okay, they found ways to beat themselves, and when you find ways to beat yourselves, then you're gonna find yourself in the losing column every time. I mean, they were up 13 points against the Clippers yesterday. I think they were up 10 against the Lakers on Friday. And then they were up on the Kings, I believe, on that Wednesday or that Thursday. So, with the exception of that Portland win, we were in every game. But each game that we lost, we found a way to beat ourselves. They didn't beat us; we beat ourselves. So now the next step is learning how to minimize turnovers, because those turnovers always shoot us in the foot. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, learning how to play team defense. And I still think there's some confusion there. But as Billy Donovan said yesterday, at the end of the day, the players have to go out there and execute.
Bingo. There's nothing more, nothing less. And you can put together the best game plan. If they don't go out and execute it, it's not going to work. Hey, Joseph, listen, Papa, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We will see you on Wednesday. What stories are you writing this week?
Okay, this week I'm doing the Bulls versus Clippers story. Zach LaVine scoring 45 points in a losing effort. I had to write about the Bears' loss to the New Orleans Saints yesterday. I talk a little bit about the Javon Williams drop TD catch. And then, in addition to that, it'd be the Illinois Fighting Illini beating Northwestern, but after beating Northwestern, losing to Maryland on Sunday, which is pretty disappointing. Yep. But other than that, those will be the 3 stories. And maybe the next show I'll talk about my Kobe conspiracy theory, if you guys are open to talking about it, and the LeBron segment. So, Miguel, that's only if Shawn allowed me to do it.
Together these segments, Joseph. Give Joseph like a 25-minute skit. You would do it in like day show by show. Like you're getting
a 2-part series.
That's funny. That's funny. That's good stuff. Cool, Papa. We will see you on Wednesday, all right?
All right. God bless you guys. Peace out.
All right, cool. Guys, we got to take a quick break, and then on the other side of the break, we are going to be joined by our guy, Lester Wilfong Jr., as we talk Bears football. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here, Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hey, this is Gary Payton, and we listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning. Do that.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Breeze fakes it. Looking for someone to throw to under pressure. He dumps it underneath. Latavius Murray at the 5 across the goal line. Touchdown!
Saints Radio with the call. New Orleans pulled away for a 21-9 win over the Bears. New Orleans moving on to a divisional round matchup in the Superdome with Tampa Bay. 2 of the oldest quarterbacks in the league will square off. 43-year-old Tom Brady for Tampa and the Saints' Drew Brees, who turns 42 this coming Friday. The Chicago offense struggled against against the fourth-ranked defense in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29, passing for 199 yards. His lone touchdown pass went to Jimmy Graham as time expired. Chicago held to just 48 rushing yards. In Sunday's NBA action, the Clippers nipped the Bulls 130 to 127. Chicago drops to 4-7 with a setback. This update brought to you by the Score app. Download the free Score app today. It's one of the most popular sports apps in North America. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Square Sweepstakes is back. Every time the score changes, someone wins $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends February 4th. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030. The NFL is not sponsored promotion in any way.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. And I got to bring out my guy. He's going to take the baton. He's taking the baton. He's going to go with me from the 10 to 11 o'clock hour. He's from That Davis Show. You can find him on Twitter at That's Davis. Guys, let's bring him out. Ken Davis. Ken, what's up, Papa? How are you?
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Good.
That's good. That's good.
Good. Good workout this morning.
Okay. With no paraphernalia? That's house music, no Bears cap?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was rooting for him.
NBA season. It's
you
NBA.
What? I was about to say, I see you got. Wait, let me.
It's
okay.
NBA season.
You still got the Bears and the bear head in the background. You got to take that down too.
No.
There you go. Okay, I got you. I got you.
What's going on, man? How was your weekend?
It was cool. It was a cool weekend. My daughter, so school now has gone back into in-class learning. So my daughter's schedule changed. She's not going in right now. But the kids in pre-K and kids that have special needs, they want to come in every day. So now she starts at 9 o'clock. She was starting at noon. So it's pushing into the time where I got to jump on here. So the family had to flee from the basement. Chances from down here. But yeah, outside of that, the weekend was solid, man. Just spent time with the family, watching the game, taking in all the games. Looking forward to the national championship game tonight. Shout out to Lamar Jackson finally getting that off his back yesterday. That was a really good game to take in yesterday. Yep. The last game, listen, I don't know what happened to the Steelers. I turned away for a second. They were down by and it was 28, and I turned away for 5 minutes. It was goodness gracious. But our game, the Bears game, man, Bears was. I don't even want to get into it, make it seem like the Bears were just the Bears. There was a lot of things that played into that game and what took place yesterday. Some of it was definitely play calling, but I know we'll get into that in depth since Lester's about to join us.
Yeah, we'll get in at the bottom of the hour, me and you, and we got a lot to talk about. And
I thought he was about to come on right now. He's not coming on right now.
Yeah,
I can get to my.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
No.
I'm throwing the whole show off. So go ahead and do what you do.
At the bottom of the hour at 10:30, me and you Ken, gonna get it in. But our first guest is he's from Windy City Gridiron, and he's a good friend of the program. He's been on here plenty of times. You can find him on Twitter at Wilt Fong Jr. Guy, let's bring him out. Lester Wilfong. Lester, what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
Good. Not as annoyed as I was yesterday, but I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, that was a rough game yesterday. That's the Bears. When the Bears go against a good team, it just feels like they never really have a chance to win the game, and that's just how it's been lately. It's rough.
Part of this is this, Lester, is I think, and let me know how you feel. If I think that was all Matt Nagy calling those plays yesterday. You get David Montgomery with 12 carries, and that's not the formula that had got you winning. Okay, I think he'd been, and it was confirmed that he has a bigger role in play calling. It was confirmed last week by Ian Rappaport. And you saw what happened last week when you don't put he had what he had last week. Although last week he did have 22 carries, but in Jacksonville he had 23, Minnesota he had 32. And then before he gave up I'm talking Matt Nagy gave up the play calling. We're talking 10, 17, 12, 13. All right, that's not what you need from your running back. And we saw how that became our identity. And we were in that game. We could have continued to run the ball. And I understand New Orleans has a good defense, but it doesn't mean you stop pounding the rock. And I think that to me bugged me, because I said it on Friday. I said if Matt Nagy is comfortable in his job, which I think he is, okay, and JJ Stankovic came and said that he had heard that Matt Nagy is safe and he will be back. I said, then guess what? Matt Nagy is going to take a bigger role, if not just take it all back and call all the plays. And that's exactly what I feel happened yesterday. And I think that's one of the reasons we lost, because I think our defense played great.
I think he may have had a hand in the play calling, because if you look at that thing from Rapp a couple weeks ago, his report wasn't that Matt Nagy was taking play calling back. It just was he was having a voice in the room. And honestly, to me, that's not news. It's his offensive playbook. It's his plays. It's his offense. It's his team. Of course, he has a voice in the room. I don't think he took over play calling. I think it's just, you can't just do nothing but the bootleg outside zone every day. If you look at the Bears yesterday, yes, Montgomery only had 11 carries, but before that garbage time touchdown drive, the Bears only ran 38 plays. So 11 of the 38 was David Montgomery. That's a pretty good chunk. That's 33% at least. And then it wasn't working. He was averaging 2-point-some yards per carry. The Saints were clocking that stuff. They were trying to stop the run. The Saints wanted to make Mitch Trubisky beat them because they knew Mitch Trubisky can't beat them. That was the Saints game plan. That was the Packers game plan. That was the Jags game plan. And we kind of saw this outside zone bootleg stuff kind of get stopped a little bit in that Jags game. But then against the Packers, what'd they do? They were very smart on the backside. They had the backside edge defender stay home. He wasn't chasing those outside boots to give Trubisky room to run on get outside and make his plays. And then against the Saints, what we saw happen is, they were using that outside slot defender, whether a linebacker or a DB. They were chasing the trailing receiver underneath the route. So, they were ready for that style of offense. And it was a good article in The Athletic, I think a week ago, talking about that style of offense, the Kyle Shanahan, the Sean McVay, the outside zone boot offense. And it's a great offense for bad quarterbacks, great offense for good quarterbacks, but it can't be all you do. It has to have other stuff going on there. And that's why we see some of the better quarterbacks have great success in that system. And some of the bad quarterbacks, when they face better teams like the Bears did, they have issues.
Hey, we got a quick clip. Let's check this out. Talking about this. Go ahead, Ivan. Let's run it. Well, we have a clip. We don't have volume. Can we get us a volume on there?
You got to click the share option of the volume part when you open up those tabs.
Yeah, I'll have to be on. Well, I just realized that. 1 second.
Okay, let's talk about the future of Mitch Trubisky. At one point, the Bears were certain he was their future, their franchise quarterback. Now, from what I understand, still has a lot to prove to get there. And obviously a big stage now to do it. Here are the things working against Mitch Trubisky as he tries to remain the franchise quarterback for the Bears. He had his fifth-year option decline. He's been benched. Obviously, he struggled last week. He's had his moments, but from what I understand, there's nothing certain the Bears are not set right now on bringing him back. Perhaps, Rich, if he wins and keeps winning, he can change their mind. Still a lot of work to do for Trubisky.
That clip courtesy of the NFL Network, and I'll tell you what, I don't think he did enough, Lester. I don't think he did enough.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Because first of all, if Matt Nagy's gone, then it's a moot point because whoever comes in probably ain't keeping him.
Yeah, he's going to want his guy.
Yeah, he's going to want his guy. He's going to bring in his offense. And when you've already seen the fact that, and it doesn't matter what type of offense you bring in, if you can't read defense, it's not even worried about mine. If I need to be able to read defense, if I can't read defenses, that side, it doesn't matter what I'm running. Because I don't know what the hell they're running, and I can't decipher it, which means whatever I'm running could just be sabotaging that myself and my players and putting them in bad positions to get a good position to get hurt.
Like I said, that outside zone, that bootleg offense, it's a successful offense. It cuts the field down. It's just a really easy read for the quarterback, 1-2. But it also, the defense knows what's going on too. The defense knows it cuts the reads down. So the defense, when the QB boots out, everything can flow that direction. As long as the defensive players are smart in their keys and they don't fall for the play action like crazy, if they're really intelligent, and we saw that with the Saints and with the Packers, they did not bite on those fakes. They stayed true to themselves in the backside. And if defenses do that, it can slow that down. And now when that happens, the offense has to adjust. They have to have the quarterback do some half rolls where he's not going all the way out. They have to have him sit closer to the pocket and kind of have more of the field option to him, and then make his plays, and get the ball pushed downfield. That's what you have to do. This is the modern NFL. You can't check everything down all the time. And yes, maybe guys aren't open, and that's a problem with the scheme. But at some point, you have to look at the quarterback, and he's been too quick to check down. I mean, he's looking for the checkdowns early because he doesn't want to take a chance going deep. Now, maybe that's been coached out of him, his aggressiveness, because we haven't always seen him like that. Maybe he don't trust himself, because it's clear that the coaching staff does not trust him to make a play. We kind of saw that at the end of the second half there when they had 3 straight runs because they don't want to take a chance of throwing an incomplete pass to give the Saints the ball back.
One thing that on that particular play or that scheme, Lester, that sticks out to me and bothers me with Mitch, and I know sometimes you have the defender trailing beneath, but it's the second level guy that he never hits. And that's the one. He never goes after usually it's like Jimmy Graham or somebody. It's either the tailback or the guy that's on the first level that's usually at 6 yards down. And we trying to get the 10 yard. And he never goes. Because one play I did see, it looked like Jimmy Graham had a step, or Cole Kmet had a step on a defender. And it's like, you have to go to the second level with that. You can't just go under all of the damn time. But I want to ask you this about Matt Nagy and play calling. Because this is one play. These plays are his call because he's the head coach, and I got tired of it when it came to Green Bay. And of course, Green Bay won by 20-something odd points. And if you look at the score yesterday, you can say the same thing. But it's not going for field goals when you need to put points on the board because you can't score that easily. And at one point, that game looked like it was. Of course, it wasn't 3 yards in the cloud of dust, but you get what I'm saying. Where it wasn't an offensive game, whatever. It was a defensive battle for a second. And if you played into that and at least put points on the board, you could have got yourself into where perhaps you were one score away. Let's just say if it was 16, Bears had got to 10. And that makes me mad with Matt Nagy when you kept hearing the commentators say, these are teams that you can't settle for field goals. You don't score enough not to settle for field goals. And that bothers the heck out of me.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I mean, the way the Bears were playing on defense yesterday, you said it had that defensive feel. So, get points when you can get them. Against the Packers, a couple weeks ago, it was a little different kind of the way the game was flowing. But that game yesterday, yeah, I mean, definitely, if you have a chance to get points, you got to get points. You have to, but again, a lot of it comes down to just, how much do you trust your offense, when they have to make a play? I mean, have we seen it much this year? When they have to do something, have they been able to do it? It's not all the quarterback. Some of it's play calling. A lot of it is, the drops. We had a few really, critical drops. Obviously, a real big one with Wims yesterday. So, this offense just as a whole hasn't really done enough to give anyone confidence in it moving forward. And that's, again, it's not all the quarterback. But he's the guy pulling the trigger. He's the guy that has to make those plays. And you mentioned it, and those second level reads. I'm not sure if it was the Bears game or another game. When you got a guy out there and he's kind of one-on-one, you got to throw him open. You have to put the ball to a place where your guy can go get it. And is that a thing that Mitch Trubisky has mastered yet in 4 years now? I'm not so sure.
Mm-hmm. No, guys, we're joined by Lester Wilfong from Windy City Gridiron talking Chicago Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. So without him mastering this, give me your thoughts. Okay, if we go by JJ's report. JJ Stankovic from NBC Sports Chicago last week said that Matt Nagy is okay. What happens next year? Do you sign Mitch? Incentive laden deal. Because remember the cap is going to drop because of the lack of revenue due to no fans this year in most stadiums. So the cap's going to drop. You still going to want to try and sign Allen Robinson. Nick Foles didn't seem to be the answer, although he played in an offensive line that wasn't as kind of intact as the one that Mitch came back to with Mustipher and Bars and Whitehair. What do they do with the quarterback position? If Nagy comes back, which according to some reports, he's going to.
Yeah, I mean, it looks that way. I mean, that they're going to have the coach back. The GM, we're still not sure what's going to happen there. Obviously, there's been some rumor, that he may get bumped up, and they have a brand new GM come in. There's a lot of moving parts right now, and I think we're not going to find any of that out for sure until the Bears make a decision one way or the other and make an announcement, But as far as quarterback, I mean, if you look at free agency, there's not really too much out there. That's why I think bringing Mitch Trubisky back is on the table right now, even though he didn't play as good as that you wanted him to. But, they have to retool this entire offense to him. They have to really, I'm not saying it has to be like the run first Baltimore Ravens offense where the quarterback does a lot of the read option stuff, because we haven't really seen Mitch make the right decision on those either. But he is athletic. You have to get him out of the pocket. You have to kind of make those designed runs a part of the game plan, because him pushing it downfield consistently is not really going to work. So if he comes back, you got to have a complete retool. It can't be. It has to be a whole brand new playbook, because it just ain't going to work with with just having some of those things mixed in with what Matt Nagy wants to do.
Listen, let me ask you this, and I want to go to the defensive side of the ball. When you were on with us about a month and a half ago, you made a good point of why we hadn't seen the best of Robert Quinn, because the Bears weren't scoring enough points just to have their defensive ends pin their ears back, or outside rushers, whatever you want to call them, pin their ears back and rush the quarterback. We did get to the point where the Bears were scoring 30 points a game. And did you see in Robert Quinn, when they were putting up that many points, that he was getting his job done?
He flashed a little more than he was, because he was able to just get after the quarterback. I think his pressure numbers went up a little bit. I think his quarterback hits went up a touch. But again, the sacks aren't there. I mean, if you're going to pay a guy, you're paying him that much money. It's with him and with Matt. You're paying those guys a ton of money. You're not paying them to set the edge. You're not paying them to get pressures. You're paying them to punish the quarterback. And that's not happening with Quinn. I mean, it turned out, if you look at what happened with Floyd, the Bears made the wrong call there. I mean, Floyd and Quinn, their pressure numbers were pretty similar, throughout their careers. Quinn always got home. This year, it's the opposite. Quinn is not getting home. Floyd's getting home, and that's a bad contract for the Bears going forward, because Quinn is here at least one more year, because if you cut him, it's way too much dead money. So he'll be here next year. You got to hope that he can put it all together.
And listen, now let me get into some real meatball-ish right here. Yeah, I'm serious. So you can get on me with this one. I'm to the point now, because I start to look for, where's the money coming from? Where can we get some of this money back? If you can get some for Eddie Jackson, he needs to go. And you mentioned the guy's name. To be honest with you, and I know he's the best player on the defense, quote unquote, but I'll keep picks. Mac, if you can trade and get some picks for Mac, you need to send him too, because it's not working. He's getting into the Pro Bowl off of name only for the most part. I know people have to scheme for him. I'm not taking away that, but we were talking about a beast of a man 2 years ago, and now it's a shadow of that guy, and some of that is that guy. I know he's hurt, but everyone's hurt at this point in the season.
It's one of those things where if you look at how the Bears constructed this roster, it's a lot of their money is put on the defensive side of the ball. And that's fine, 10, 15 years ago. But this day and age, the way the rules are set up, everything is set up and designed for the offense to score points. And if you're going into it thinking that, you have to build your defense up and your offense is neglected, that's an issue from a team building standpoint. I'm with you. If the Bears if they're going to really think about doing some sort of rebuild on the fly here, you may have to trade a guy like Mack or Jackson or one of these stud guys, Fuller, Hicks, maybe. If you look at the money that they have going to them, what can you get back in return and make a deal? Because, dumping all your cash in a defense has not worked.
Yeah, it hasn't. And I'm almost to the point where Ken's at, where, I mean, if especially if you bring in a new coach and you get rid of Nagy, and the reports that we had were erroneous, then I'd start selling off pieces. Because if you bring in a new coach and he brings in a new offense, first of all, hopefully he has a DC that he wants that runs a 3-4. Okay, because if not, then we have to blow everything up again and go back to a 4-3 like we did when Fox came. Then you just better start selling everything off. But if we get an offensive guy who comes in and it's going to take a couple years, this defense doesn't have a couple more years for an offense to gel. They just don't. There's some guys who are ready to leave now. Eddie Jackson, he got paid, and ever since he got paid, even before then, he started to decline. His play started to slip. So I'm more than okay with that. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. What are we going to do about this wide receiver room? Okay, first of all, we need a quarterback, so that's a whole other issue. But this wide receiver room is daunting because you have Allen Robinson, who's a free agent, and do you think he's going to want to come back here in this cesspool of an offense? I don't think so. I think if Green Bay offers him, I think his ass is going 90 miles up north, a couple hours north. That's Milwaukee. A couple hours north of Chicago along the lakefront. And you mean to tell me that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams would love to have a dude like that on the other side? Come on. And then you have Anthony Miller, who I think if they cut him today, it's probably a day too late. You have Darnell Mooney, who's good, shown signs of being a good player, but he's one guy and he seems to be getting hurt a little too easy for me. Then you have Javon Wims. Javon Wims should have just left him in New Orleans, and I'm a big Javon Wims guy, but you just can't keep doing that. And then you drop that touchdown pass. Man, I swear I want to throw something at the TV, but I was at a bar, and that was about another $500 I would have had to pay. And then all of a sudden you have a Riley Ridley, a kid. All of a sudden you throw him in just because it's garbage time, and the kid makes some good catches. And I'm not saying he's going against the first team or it was critical moments, but it be that this guy I probably might have been his most action all season long. It was yesterday. Why is this guy not in? This wide receiving room that we have is in shambles. And if you intend on competing in the NFL, you kind of need some wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all hinges on Robinson. I mean, obviously the tag is in play here, obviously with him, but like I said, if it comes down to a straight free agency, why would he come back to a quarterback situation like this? Unless he just really likes the team and the culture here. But I mean, that's possible. It could happen. But I mean, you would think he'd want to be gone. That would leave your number one guy as Darnell Mooney, and I like him. I think he could develop into a really good receiver. I mean, he's had a really good rookie year. But is he really the guy you want to trust as your alpha? I mean, he's not the guy yet at this point in his career. So if you lose Robinson and you have to count on him. Now you're looking at going out in free agency and getting a number one guy in here because, if it's not Wims, it's not Miller, it's not Ridley, and so what do you do at that spot? I mean, Thomas Ives on the practice squad, it's just not getting it done. I mean, the development hasn't really been there from some of these guys. And I'm not sure if that goes to the coach or just the work ethic of the players, but as far as Ridley goes, I would like to see him play. But he doesn't play special teams, so you really can't justify having him on your active game day roster if he's only going to play that, a starting spot. He's not better than Robinson, Mooney, probably not better than Miller. He's probably a better receiver than Wims, but Wims is there because he plays your special. So, you have to kind of, again, look at the roster construction, figure out what you want to do at the top of that position and go from there.
Lester, in the first round, are you going offensive lineman if that's who's right there, or are you going to reach and go for a QB?
Yeah, I don't think where the Bears are picking at 20, a quarterback really fits there. I think O-line, I think you have to get a tackle in here at this point and let him compete at either right or left tackle spot, and then you're going to probably think about cutting one of those guys. I think probably if you do cut one, it's going to be Massey probably goes just because his contract's a little easier to cut. I think Leno is probably a little more valuable to the team at this point. And I think if you build up, the right tackle spot with just the best, tackle available. And if he can come in and win that job, again, he has to come in and win it because it's not a guarantee that he'll be coming and do the job there, but I think you have to pour some more resources into that O-line, whether it's a few draft picks, whether it's bring back a guy like a Fafetti as your swing guy, because you need more quality there. I mean, we've seen this Ryan Pace pour in, late round picks here and there, guys off the scrap heap here and there. Yes, he brought in a couple second rounders in Daniels and Whitehair, but you gotta pump some real money into that line, and build it up, because, you know, it all starts up front in the NFL, and especially if your quarterback spot is unsettled, let's give him the best O-line possible then.
Yeah, quarterback is definitely unsettled, guys. We're joined by Lester Wilfong. He's from Windy City Gridiron. We're talking Chicago Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. So I don't even know. I'm trying to figure which way to go. There's the, you know, we talked about the offensive line. We talked about the wide receivers. Are they going to do anything in the running back situation, do you think? Or are they just going to wait and expect Tariq Cohen to be this other dude? Because now, you know, I know Tariq Cohen is a different type of back, but he's not an Alvin Kamara type back. He's not a power back. And would you like to have at least two good running backs, David Montgomery style running backs, who can pound it, who can carry the rock if necessary, as opposed to a David Montgomery and a Tariq Cohen type?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I mean, right now they have Patterson as their second guy, but he's a free agent coming up. I think he would be nice to have him come back, because he can do so much things for your offense and your special team, you know. But you got to look at the price tag with him. With Cohen, obviously, it's an injury. He has to make sure he's back from that. But, you know, he'll be your number 2 next year. But again, you know, if you can't just have one lead back, you know, unless it's a guy like Derrick Henry. I mean, that's obviously the man, you know. But you have to have a nice stable you can count on, and it's not Ryan Nall. I mean, I think we've seen that, you know, through the last couple of years. You know, maybe Art Pierce is a guy that can come in and do it. But again, with those bottom of the depth chart, you know, guys at that spot, they got to play the specials, and that's why Nall was active the last few weeks, because he can play special teams for you. And a guy like Pierce, you know, he hasn't got to that point yet, so it'll be a big offseason for him to see if he can come in and show this coaching staff that he can play those special teams. Because as a runner, I think he has some speed. I think he's a guy that you can do some stuff with. He has good hands out of the backfield, so maybe he's their guy. You know, but also you got to bring guys in camp. You know, that's a position where there's plenty of guys out there that can do the job. You know, bring a bunch of guys in, you know, let them all battle it out for that job.
Lester, you mentioned it a second ago, as far as perhaps a change with the general manager position, maybe Ryan Pace being bumped up. But have you heard any names, and even outside of those names, who are some guys that you would look at to fill in that position?
You know, the only thing that's been concrete out there, there was a report, I think, a week ago, where they were looking at the Chiefs player personnel guy. His name escapes me at this point, and if I remembered, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway. It's Borgadzi, I think, like that. You know, but that's the only solid report out there. You know, I mean, there's a lot of rumors. I mean, honestly, at this point, you know, if you do make a change at GM, you got to look at the most successful organizations. You got to look at the Ravens. You got to look at the Packers, and you got to poach one of those guys. I mean, the rule has been changed now, where you can go and, you know, if you're looking for your GM, you know, you can go and poach another guy's assistant GM over there. You can take those guys now. If they're going for a better job with you, you know, you don't have to have permission. You know, just go out there and do your due diligence and find a guy that you trust to run, you know, that whole department. Because I like Ryan Pace from a point where he has had, you know, about half hits, half misses. His miss is the quarterback spot. It's always going to haunt him. It'll haunt his entire career that he got that spot wrong. Because if you look at the rest of his draft picks, you know, he's about on par where most guys are. He's you know, half and half. You know, no one hits everything. You know, but he's had some pretty good hits in there, you know, from Jackson, Cohen, you know, his Daniels, Whitehair. You know, there's some pluses there, but there's some minuses there. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to quarterback. He screwed that spot up so much that's going to haunt him.
It's going to haunt him forever. Hey, guys, he's Lester Wilfong from Windy City Gridiron. Do me a favor, your time, but let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
WindyCityGridiron.com. We also got a podcast channel. You can find us all over the place. And I'm on Twitter at WilfongJR.
Hey, great stuff, buddy. We appreciate your time.
Anytime. Lester.
All right, buddy. All right, now, guys, that was Lester Wilfong Jr. talking Bears with us. And, man, there's just so many questions, you know, and Ken and I are going to delve into more of these on the other side of the break. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hi, this is George Iceman German. I listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Breeze fakes it. Looking for someone to throw to under pressure. He dumps it underneath. Latavius Murray at the 5 across the goal line. Touchdown!
Saints radio with the call. New Orleans pulled away for a 21-9 win over the Bears. New Orleans moving on to a divisional round matchup in the Superdome with Tampa Bay. Two of the oldest quarterbacks in the league will square off. 43-year-old Tom Brady for Tampa and the Saints' Drew Brees, who turns 42 this coming Friday. The Chicago offense struggled against the fourth-ranked defense in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29 passing for 199 yards. His lone touchdown pass went to Jimmy Graham as time expired. Chicago held to just 48 rushing yards. In Sunday's NBA action, the Clippers nipped the Bulls 130 to 127. Chicago drops to 4-7 with a setback. This update brought to you by the Score app. Download the free Score app today. It's one of the most popular sports apps in North America. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares sweepstakes is back. Every time the score changes, someone wins $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends February 4th. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030. The NFL is not sponsored promotion in any way.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
You start with the 2 guys who are running the organization, and you ask them what their plan is, because their plan, like we just said, last year didn't work. So you started Ryan Pace, and if you're the owner, you go over his draft picks. Do you like them? Do you not like them? So one guy, you talk to him about things like letting Leonard Floyd go. Why'd you let him go? And like we all know, coach knows that Ryan Pace meets with position coaches. Do you like this guy? Should we let him go? Should we sign him? Who should we go? Who do you like at this position to wreak havoc? What's your plan on offense for a guy you hired to fix the offense? Mm-hmm. Why do we have 12 quarterback coaches in the building and our quarterbacks are struggling? Right? These are questions that they got to get to the bottom of it. And if you keep these guys, it's really only because you think that they're improving, that they're correcting their mistakes. So then I have to hear their plan. I have to like what I hear. And that's where you start, Cap. You start with these 2 guys who are running the organization. And you ask them.
Guys, that clip courtesy of NBC Sports Chicago yesterday after the game. And
yeah, man. Let's get
you do start with those guys. You start with Ryan Pace, but I think it goes even further. I think it goes into Ted Phillips. Why? Well, part of it is when you were trying to find a general manager, that Ted Phillips was so inadequate or just not qualified that he had to go hire a consultant. Like, this is your job. This is your job as president of football operations. You find someone to run your football team, period.
He doesn't have the connections, Shawn. He doesn't have the connections to go out there and find somebody to run it.
That goes to show you that he's the wrong guy for the job. Because if you get a guy who can do that, if you get a guy who can do that, then 1, he'll have the connections, or 2, he'll feel confident in himself to say, I know what we need. I know the kind of guy that I'm looking for. I know what the kind of guy this organization is looking for. I know the philosophy of this organization, and I need to find a guy who aligns his philosophy with ours. And when he can't do that, and he's got to go out and spend money, that shows that he can't do it, that he's not the guy. So that's where it needs to start. And then Pace, I don't know about you. I think Pace needs to go. It sucks. His first round picks have been crap. He has 1 good first round pick out of 4. Okay, that's 25%. You're not, unless you're in baseball, 250, and that's even a 250. You can't hit 1 out of 4 in first round picks in the NFL. That doesn't keep your job. I'm sorry. I know he did well late in rounds, but those first round picks, the guys that you need to start now and make an impact because you're paying them the most money, they need to be hit on, and they can't be projects, or they can't be developmental players like he's done.
Okay, so the Ted Phillips thing, I'm with you, but he's Crane Kenny. Because this man got the stadium refurbished, the family owes him a lifelong debt of gratitude for some odd reason. All right, just because Michael and Daley weren't getting along. I don't know, back in the days, Richard Daley, the son, right, basically told the Bears, if you go to Indiana, you can't keep the name, because he was in a pissing match with Michael McCaskey, and they got Michael out of there and put Ted in there, and that's how they finally got the stadium refurbished into the mess that it looks like today. The Steelers not big enough to hold a Super Bowl. And that's why Ted Phillips is there, basically, outside of being a close member of the family, damn near. I don't know if Ted Phillips is going to go. He's one of those people that's entrenched, But I do know you need another general manager, And one thing that Lester was saying, this year's draft, Mooney, Jalen Johnson, and who else did they bring in? Mooney, Jalen Johnson, and they brought in the third. Thank you. And Komet. All right, nice draft. But as you said, you don't hit on the first rounders. And that's really important, because one, that's where you're sinking most of your money, and that's where you have the greatest volume of talent. So you're not hitting on those guys. You can't hit on quarterback. You couldn't even see going forward. And again, hindsight's 2020, that you had a better player, and Leonard Fournette is an all-around player. He's not even an all-around player this year, just pressuring the quarterback.
Situational player.
See, this also goes to the Khalil Mack thing. Part of the reason, and they got the former Bears assistant coach as far as the defensive play call over there now with the Rams. But one thing is, when you got somebody like Aaron Donald who is attacking that ass every play, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Khalil Mack has to be Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald's from another planet. And when they both was on the trade market, I wish that, and then the Rams really weren't going to deal it. They could have gotten that guy instead of this guy, because this guy he's not cranking it up to that level like that, which would allow the guy you would think on the other end to get some more pressure. But you see with having Aaron Donald down there, how you got Leonard Floyd out here looking like a stud now. And you, in pace, you should have foreseen some of this, or you should have added to the defensive line to help get unlock Floyd. So you lost that with the Floyd. And then the Matt Nagy situation is just, and when you see both of them on the football after show, when Olin Cruz was talking about that, dude, in all fairness, he's had one winning season. And Ryan Pace has had one winning season in the 6 odd years that he's in here. It's time for a change. And I was saying this earlier through this year before we got to 6 straight losses. But when you look at how bad everything was, so good when we were playing terrible teams. You run up against two good teams at the end of the year, Green Bay and then the Saints, and you look nothing like you did the weeks prior to that situation. Think about how Mitch looked. Y'all should at least been able to get to in the teens. I mean, at least almost 20 points from what we saw. But now we see what happens when you're playing against a stronger defense, or a real defense. You know what I'm saying? Looking at the offensive line and the holes that weren't being opened for David Montgomery yesterday compared to the holes that have been opened in the past few weeks. But I'm with you. I think both of them should be gone. I don't know if both of them will be gone. Nagy has more years on this deal. I do believe, if they're being honest, change needs to take place. And listen, my guys, some of them was with me, some of them wasn't when I said to Lester. You can't – look, I think, one, you see a difference in the Bears defense when Akeem Hicks isn't out there. Akeem Hicks is older. You're going to get in times where Akeem Hicks is going to get nicked up. You need to look for some guy to subplay him at some point. You still got Bilal Nichols. You got Eddie Goldman coming back. All right, so you're starting – we forget Eddie Goldman's been gone this year. You're starting with – and you saw the difference in not having Eddie Goldman. Imagine him next to Khalil Mack. Imagine those three back there. You can find an edge rusher. He may not be the edge rusher, but you can find an edge rusher. You don't need to make him the fourth or third highest paid player in the NFL. And that's the problem too. In a lot of these situations, when you're paying someone this type of contract, you're usually paying them for their past deeds and not for what they're doing right now. You're not getting those years that the team that drafted him got when he was on the Lowski-Woski. And it's just time. You look at him, you look at Eddie Jackson, dog, there's no reason not to keep Gibson and look for another guy to play over the middle. You saw how well Gibson played yesterday.
Gibson played very well.
Gibson's been playing well this entire season outside of the first 3 games. You've seen Gibson flashing this entire season. You keep Gibson, all right? You look to see if someone will give you a 3rd-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, something for Eddie Jackson. It's no reason to pay a safety that much money, especially if he's not that's the first one that has. You do not pay a safety that, and he's not doing something spectacular at least every other game. The second you come down to Mac, man, that's a hellified contract. And if there's a team out there that's close to winning it and view him as the missing piece, you let them take him. And I don't care if they're a late first round pick, you get one and you get a second and you just march on and keep on moving. You took that L, you gave up 2 ones in a second, whatever. We had a good time while it lasted, baby. You know what I'm saying? But you got to make that move and get out of these deals so that, one, you have to accumulate more draft talent to accentuate what you have. There are still pieces on this defense that you can use moving forward. Your cornerbacks are still good. You still got Roquan if he can stay healthy, right? You still got those 3 guys in the front line that I mentioned, in Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman coming back, and Eddie Goldman didn't accrue another year. So actually his contract is longer than what it was if he would have played this year. You have him under contract at another year, and Bilal Nichols. You know, you got those 3 guys right there up front. Now you fortify them with some more. You don't have to. This defense doesn't have to implode. They were top 10 before Mac got there. They were 10 the season they brought Mac in. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I would do in this situation, because as Lester was saying, it's too much money on the defensive side of this ball not to get – let me just put it like this, not to get any pressure. Like, the fact that they don't get any pressure is ridiculous.
The thing is that they were getting pressure before, but the thing that you mentioned that most people forget, and I believe I have not forgotten, is that Eddie Goldman isn't playing. And that's a huge thing. That's a guy who can collapse the pocket from the inside. So when you have 2 guys who can collapse the pocket from the inside, and that's Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman, I mean, there's really nowhere for a quarterback to step up. And that made it that made a huge difference this year with pressures. Okay, because quarterbacks are able to move around in the pocket, step up, step to the right, step to the left. But if Eddie Goldman's there and that pocket's collapsing, you know, you can't step away from Akeem Hicks because there's Eddie Goldman, and you can't go around and you can't move outside because then there's Robert Quinn and then there's Khalil Mack. A lot of the things that you know, people don't realize how important Eddie Goldman was. I knew it was going to be a big void, literally and figuratively, and it was all season. And I know you know, those guys should be getting to the quarterback, but these quarterbacks are professionals too, and they get paid a lot of money to stay alive in that pocket and maneuver in that pocket. So, you know, when you don't have the guys who make it difficult for a quarterback to do that, like Eddie Goldman, then yeah, those guys, when they see when your center can handle that nose guard one-on-one, it's over. It's over.
Let me ask you this though, right? Because I agree with you. I think Eddie Goldman is really important, but this was the same Khalil Mack season we had last year, and Eddie Goldman was there. Khalil Mack didn't do anything last year spectacular. It was another year where it was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he got the numbers, but they weren't impact numbers. They weren't, man, this guy was taking over the game numbers. Yet it was the same result with Eddie Goldman there. You know, like, it's, again, I hate getting like this, because the same thing happened to a certain degree with Julius Peppers, even though Julius Peppers was long in the tooth by the time he got here. You know what I'm saying? But still, it's am I getting the results that you're getting paid for? You're not getting regular money. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, like Charles Leno Jr., he's getting baby left tackle money. You pay for what you get with Charles Leno Jr. All right. He actually does a little, I know this is gonna sound crazy, he actually does a little bit better than his pay, right? Like, he's not very good, but they don't pay him very good money, right? So, but when you look at Khalil Mack, at one point the highest paid defensive player in the league, and we can say, man, he's getting triple team. Dude, there was time. Think about how many times yesterday he was singled up on a tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, dude, it's one guy on him. It's a mismatch. There has to be a mismatch if you are this perennial Pro Bowler that Khalil Mack, quote unquote, is supposed to be. It's just, again, with me, looking at the offense, because we keep talking about this Allen Robinson money. There's no money, all right, here, if you think about the guys that they have to re-sign, and the fact that one thing that we didn't mention, that Nick Foles has an option for himself. And there's no way someone's giving Nick Foles some money. Maybe if someone offers him a chance and a 2-year deal, he'll take less to go have a chance at something. But the way that Nick Foles played, what options are out there for him? So how are the Bears going to move around any money to, one, re-sign Allen Robinson, or even try to do anything in free agency to shore up some of these holes, particularly one if they could use it on the offensive line, but probably they need to do that as far as in the draft, as far as going out and trying to get them a tackle.
Yeah, Khalil Mack it seems as if he is disenchanted. He's not fully locked in.
Yes,
he's not fully
locked in. Like that last year. It was like that last year.
Last year, I think a lot of it had to do with there were times where he seemed that I think as the year wore on, where he was getting assaulted on a consistent basis. That took a lot of the fire out of his eyes. And when he wasn't assaulted, and it was one-on-one, he was tired and just didn't give that all. I think it wears on you. That's the psychological part of the game. When they're holding you and they're grabbing you and they're everything, and you're not getting the calls that you deserve, it wears on you. And I don't think he was able to overcome that. And they'd have a tight end there, and he's expecting to hit the tight end, and the tight end releases or maybe gives him a quick shot, and then now it's like, okay, now I got the tackle. It just didn't seem like he had that heart. And I know that's tough. It's a big word to say, but it just didn't seem like he had that heart, that energy, that drive to be the best like he was when he first got here. And I think a lot of it had to do with the way that with the penalties, not giving him an excuse, but you still have to play and be who you are. And I don't think he was being who he was. And I just think that Khalil Mack, I think he needed to look down and see if he had a pair, because you're Khalil Mack, you're Khalil Mickey Ficky Mack, and people they scheme, their game plans are planned around you. Okay, and there are times, and we've seen it sometimes, where he would just dominate one particular play, like holy sheesh, and then we don't see that again for another quarter or two, or if even the rest of the game. And that can't happen with a guy who's getting paid that much money.
Think about the first year. And then I made excuses for him last year. I said that once he saw that the team was on some bullshit, let me curse on this one. Once he saw last year they weren't going anywhere, he checked out. Remember, he stopped doing interviews after the game? And even this year when they were 5-1, you didn't see the same guy. Even though Khalil Mack is smart enough to still see that team wasn't what it was supposed to be, even at 5-1. Anybody with common sense knew that was a fake 5-1 team. You know what I'm saying? But Khalil Mack, with nothing on the line, doesn't put it all out there. He doesn't. He tunes it out. You know what I'm saying? That first year, he was brand new. But that first year, since they were looked at like a contender at some points, he was charged and ready to go. Outside of that, man, you're not going to get that much out of Khalil Mack if you're just going through the motions as far as your team is a below average team. But listen, and that's on Khalil Mack, because Khalil Mack gets paid to perform regardless of what the record is. You know what I'm saying? That's on him. And even looking at how you played last year, you should make it a point to say, my motor's going to stay up regardless of what happened. I'm not going to let it deter me from being the beast that I'm supposed to be when I'm out here on this field. So for me, it's time. You know what I'm saying? There's no, even if, I'll even put it like this, even if, let's just say next year he has a phenomenal year, it's not worth 2 years of not having it. And then banking on, for instance, him not having a good year after that. It's time to look at the players that aren't performing, and you can get some of this money and shift it into either the offensive side or a couple players rather than just one player here. And that's referring to Eddie Jackson, because safeties don't need to get paid that much, especially if they're not being in the rarest era of the NFL, and Khalil Mack, because Khalil Mack hasn't been playing to the level he's supposed to be playing at the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and there's a lot of soul searching that's got to go on. And I'll tell you what, I think, part of it, I think, is because he came over because of who he was. I don't think, and I can almost feel it. I can sense it. And this is my gut feeling, is that they don't hold him accountable. Like they don't, and like they don't put, like, the best players, you keep your foot in their ass. The best players, whether you're still friendly with them and talk to him a certain way, or you're harder on them in practice. And I don't think they're harder on him in practice because, today's athlete might go in the corner and cry. But I just don't think that they're holding him accountable enough. Like, who the hell you are. This is what we need. This is what we need from you. You're not setting the tone for the rest of these guys. Because if there's a point, if you look back at your film in 18 and you see what you've done to other people, you see how the Leonard Floyds played better, how the Eddie Goldman played better, how the Roy Robertson Harris played better.
What happened to him?
Guys, he's out for the season. Peck, he'll be back next year. But even then, like, you see what you cause, okay? Because now the quarterback has to look at you, okay, and everything has to be to you. Now I don't think everything's geared towards stopping Mack anymore. I don't feel it. I'm sure they game plan it, but as the game goes on, they realize, oh shit, we got him. And I love to be a fly in the wall in an offensive line meetings. And hear what offensive line coaches, are saying about Khalil Mack. Hey,
watching the tape.
He'll come at you. He'll give you. He's strong, but you know what? He gives up after such and such. We give him a chip. He gives up if he gets chipped. If you hold him, he's gonna start complaining and whatever to you, and now you got him out of his game. I'd love to hear what they say about Khalil Mack, and I love the things that Khalil Mack does. He does a lot of other things. He likes to set the edge, so chase the run down. But and that's great. And you should do that with the amount of money you're getting. But the main reason you're here was to attack that quarterback. And that hasn't been happening. And that's the big reason that you're right. You can go get like a Bud Dupree or somebody, just a situational pass rusher. Okay. Because they're in wides, you can go start second down throwing situational, pass rushers, definitely third down. And remember, we had Mark Anderson back in 2006. That dude came in, had 10 sacks situationally. That's it. As a rookie, he had 10 sacks, because you put him in the right position to be successful. It's a passing down. Get somebody in there who can rush the passer, and first of all, it's a change up from the pass rushers that you're dealing with for the majority of the game. So now there's different moves that this guy has, different strengths this guy has, different weaknesses this guy has, and as offensive lineman, you have to be ready for a different type of player as opposed to the one you've been dealing with most of the game. Listen, I'm going to bring in our guy. He's going to take the baton from you for the next hour, from 11 to 12 o'clock to close out the show. He is the co-host. One of the hottest shows here on SportsZone Chicago. It's called What's Up, Cuz, with his cousin Lance C. Irvin. He writes for the Chicago Crusader. You can find him on Twitter at Jaycoyden, Jaycoyden. Guys, let's bring him out. Jason Palmer. Jason, what's up, Papa? How are you?
Good morning, fellas. Good morning. The season is over. I have mixed feelings about it. Very mixed feelings about it. It's never fun when you haven't reached the goal that you want to see your team get to, which is a championship. But at the same time, we also knew this team wasn't going to win the championship. So I kind of feel relieved that it's over. And I'm ready to move forward to the next chapter in the Bears. And that should start with some serious evaluations on your coaching staff, your general manager, your ownership, your CEO. Everybody should be under the microscope right now. So, it's that time. It's been that time. I was one of the people who wasn't too pleased that they made the playoffs because I figured it was just denying the inevitable. And, what can I say? But they made it. I pulled for them. I cheered. They couldn't score a touchdown until the last play of the game. Just awful. So, we move forward. Wearing my Blackhawks cap because they start Wednesday. So let's try to get some momentum going into White Sox training camp. When do pitchers and catchers report, Ken?
Like a month or something like that.
Sometime in February, baby. That's it.
Listen, I'm with you. I did not want them to make the playoffs, but I rooted yesterday hard. You know what I'm saying? You can hear me throughout the house screaming like I wasn't going to sit there and because I knew this was some BS. And this was going to be cover used to perhaps keep 2 people in jobs, if not 3 people. But we definitely know Ted Thompson, again, he's up in the ivory tower. It may be hard to get to him. But when it comes to Pace and Nagy, they're a lot closer to the ground. And that they can be used, to say the 8-8 season that we didn't have a losing season. And just to cover for this waste, this dumpster fire. I'm sorry. This dumpster fire, which is this team. Jason, I know you probably heard us talk about some of the players, but before, definitely we led in with those 2 guys that needs to be changed. I've said it all year that Matt Nagy has to be the first to go because regardless of this with Ryan Pace, and Ryan Pace hasn't hit on first rounders, and that's the reason he should have to go, let alone the selection of Mitchell Trubisky. And as a personnel guy, not knowing that he had a good enough guy going out and overpaying for Robert Quinn, that's one thing. But when you look at Matt Nagy, and when we were sitting there talking to Wester Wilfong, where you mentioned the wide receiver room, Shawn, and the development of those players, because all of them can't not develop. And Miller not taking another step, right? And Calvin Ridley not being able to
get off the field.
I'm sorry.
Just dress for the game.
Right. And with Wims, you're telling me that neither one of them were able to go to take it to another level, sustainably another level? That's coaching. So when the quarterback, you're supposed to be able to coach up the quarterbacks. That's play calling. This is supposed to be your forte. So you can't even look. There's no part of Matt Nagy outside of, and it's important, but still not losing his team. And it may also be partially because of the type of professionals that are on this team that he did not lose his team. But outside of that, and I'm not saying it's not important, the reason that you brought him here because of what his expertise was supposed to be, they did not come to fruition whatsoever. So him and Pace can go, but I'll be happy if one of them at least went. But then, as I was saying too, and I want to get your thoughts, Jason, to me, and I was telling to my guys yesterday, and listen, roll tide forever, roll tide tonight. Eddie Jackson needs to be traded. There's no reason to be paying him that much money. It's too much money. We all know that. Listen, now, if we were in a cover two, and that's, no one plays cover two like back in the day, yeah, you better have some decent safeties in that playing that cover two. You better have decent safeties with these tight ends coming up the seam. I'm not trying to decrease safeties of all, but still, we know paying a safety that much money and he's not special is ridiculous. Yeah, and then the same for Khalil Mack. Because Khalil Mack, that's still a bounty to be gained by moving him. There's still someone that will give you something. You can you may not be able to replace the amount of talent that he has as far as his bend, his bull rush, and all those. You may not be able to replace that, but you can replace those 10 sacks. I'll tell you that much. You can replace that.
Well, here's my thing. Shawn had hit it on the head before the season even started. Eddie Goldman exercised his option and opted out of the season due to COVID. And I think that really hurt the defensive line. I think it hurt Mack. I think it hurt Quinn. I think it hurt, everybody on the line when Eddie opted out. Eddie Jackson, I agree with you 100% on. Khalil Mack, you can get a boatload. If I'm going to trade Khalil Mack, I need to be getting at least 2 NFL offensive linemen. At least. I got to get 2 NFL offensive linemen. They don't have to be all pro, but they need to be adequate, more than adequate. If you get 2 professional NFL offensive linemen for Khalil Mack, you need to take that deal because it's going to really help your offense. It's going to help your running game. It's going to help in the pass protection. I like Khalil, but I agree with what you guys are saying. For the amount of money we're paying them, of course they're going to scheme against you. Of course they're going to double team you, triple team you. But you still have to have some level of impact on the game. And we did see that in some games. And then there were other games where you didn't even know he was on the field. So definitely they got to make some tough decisions. But here's the part about that, Ken. I don't want Ryan Pace making them decisions.
Right. I agree with you. I totally agree because he's not the guy that is he's not a developed talent evaluator. Even though I'll say this about Ryan Pace because this is what he did in New Orleans. Professional talent evaluation. He's actually kind of good on. Akeem Hicks. If you look at the guys it's drafting and he can hit on the later round guys. But I'm with you. I don't trust him. But with your point, I will want a draft pick with it. You give me a right tackle and a swing guy and a pick, you can have him. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing too is now if you look at your guard situation, you're kind of set. You're kind of set with Whitehair basically going back to guard, James Daniels going back. So I don't need a guard. You know what I'm saying? And no one's gonna give you a nice left tackle. You know what I'm saying? No, but you can give me a nice right tackle. You know what I'm saying? And then they can go in the second round perhaps and look for a guy to develop into perhaps being a left tackle in the future. But I'm with you. If you don't start putting something just particularly into this offensive line, you're really not trying and you're really not paying attention to football whatsoever.
Well, another thing I think it does is if you're willing to trade a Khalil Mack or Eddie Jackson, it sends a message to everybody else that nobody is untouchable.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it's scary because you got Allen Robinson, who's a free agent. He's not coming back to this nonsense. It's just a really tough situation. And I think that's why you have to clear out absolutely everything and everybody because you need new eyes on this. Someone to come in with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of ideas and philosophies.
It's going to be a situation then So we're looking at least another 5 years before we are.
No, I won't say that. I won't say that.
How long would you say that? Because if you bring in
3, because listen, this is the thing. You still have core defensive players that have value. You're just moving around some of the. And Khalil Mack's an important part. A. Jackson, unfortunately, I have to say, is not. You still have nice corners. Right, you have nice corners. You have a really nice interior linebacker. You have 3 good down linemen. You have 3 this defense can be rebuilt, can be reloaded. It's not you have a lot of pieces, and Gibson played very well a large majority of this season. You can sit there and put little pieces. And really, if you get a nice edge rusher, it can cover up for all of this mess.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I'm saying?
on offense, and if you bring in somebody else and they bring in a brand new system, now we got a year or two to learn that joker because we have no wide receivers. So
real quick before I
make it quick.
I gotta go. One, asked Josh, did he post on Instagram the interview he got from me 2 weeks ago? But second, Jason, I want to talk to you Friday, my brother. Your Facebook has entertained me since Wednesday. Did you yourself bring any of this in? Because I needed to know Friday how many people you got fired.
I have, after the unfortunate events that happened Wednesday at the Capitol, I think every investigative reporter in the country, we basically all had to shift into overload. And I have been working with several sources from government, law enforcement, just everyday people in trying to bring the people who attacked our U.S. Capitol to justice. And I will leave it at that. So basically, yes, I've been working nonstop since last Wednesday, and we got a lot more than we got to get. But we are making a difference. I will say that we're definitely making a difference. I started out with the Chicagoland people who were involved, and I've kind of expanded out from there. But we got some people we still need to get off the street.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. We got to go. We got a guy coming up on the other side of the break. Ken, thanks, Papa. We'll see you on Friday. And awesome. Listen, we got to take a break. And there's other side of the break. There's a big football game tonight, and that's Roll Damn Tide versus Ohio State, Ohio State University. We're going to talk to our college football guy, David Kenyon from Bleacher Report on the other side. So don't go anywhere, folks. David Kenyon coming up next right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hey, this is Gary Payton, and we listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning. Do that.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Breeze fakes it. Looking for someone to throw to under pressure. He dumps it underneath. Latavius Murray at the 5 across the goal line. Touchdown!
Saints Radio with the call. New Orleans pulled away for a 21-9 win over the Bears. New Orleans moving on to a divisional round matchup in the Superdome with Tampa Bay. Two of the oldest quarterbacks in the league will square off. 43-year-old Tom Brady for Tampa and the Saints' Drew Brees, who turns 42 this coming Friday. The Chicago offense struggled against the fourth-ranked defense in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29 passing for 199 yards. His lone touchdown pass went to Jimmy Graham as time expired. Chicago held to just 48 rushing yards. In Sunday's NBA action, the Clippers nipped the Bulls 130 to 127. Chicago drops to 4-7 with a setback. This update brought to you by the Score app. Download the free Score app today. It's one of the most popular sports apps in North America. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares sweepstakes is back. Every time the score changes, someone wins $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends February 4th. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030. The NFL is not sponsored promotion in any way.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning at SportsZone Chicago. And my guy, Jason Palmer, you see him next to me, is going to ride. He's going to take the baton for the anchor leg, the last hour of the show. And we have a lot of conversation coming up next. So our first guest in this last hour is one I can't wait to talk to you. Because tonight there's another football game, a pretty big, kind of big football game. It's the college football national championship game. Alabama Roll Tide and the Ohio State University. And this is we're going to bring in our guest who is a college football guy over at Bleacher Report. You can find him on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR. Let's bring him out. David Kenyon. David, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing well, Shawn, Jason. Good to be here. Excited for this. As you said, kind of big game here tonight.
Kind of. Kind of if you like the whole national championship, best team in college type of thing, winner take all. It's cool, I guess.
All right.
So it's here's the line. Okay, number 1 Alabama versus number 3 Ohio State. Okay, 7:00 tonight. The line Alabama by 8.5, and the over under is 75. Alabama seems to have just blue chippers at top 3 depth in their each position on the depth chart. Ohio State, I don't know if they're that talented, but I know they have a blue chipper release in the top at the number 1 spot, and there's quite a few in the number 2 spot. Who do you think has the advantage, and who do you think he has the advantage tonight?
So I'll take Alabama. I'll just give you right off the top. I've got Alabama beating the spread, covering the spread as well, but because of a late score that really puts it out of reach. I think this is unshocking to you guys, right? That 2 great teams. I think it's pretty close the whole time. I think it really follows a pretty steady. Alabama has the lead, but Ohio State keeps coming back, stays close, and then, burn the clock at the end, short touchdown runs, something like that takes it past that 8.5.
What's really cool is that that's just a side note. There are 2 kids from Chicago, the Chicagoland area, on these teams. You got Jaleel Billingsley, tight end for Alabama, who went to Phillips, which is in the last 8 years has become one of the a public school powerhouse. They won 2 state titles, the first Chicago public school to win a state title, not to mention 2. And then you have a kid out of Bolingbrook, Tough Borland. So it's there's a lot of eyes going to be on this game here in Chicago. Normally it's just like, oh, okay, great, it's the national championship game. But what's the one unit that you think that everybody has to pay attention to? Is it Alabama's offense? Is it Alabama's defense? Is it Ohio State's offense? Is it Ohio State's defense?
All right, so I think I'd love to bring in a little bit of both of that Chicago connection. Alabama, after losing Jalen Waddle, star receiver, who may or may not be back tonight, I'd say even if he does play, it's fair to say that he plays a little, let him go vertical. Don't put too much stress on an ankle. I mean, my wife, who works with athletes on that all the time, she'd be the first to tell you that's going to be a lot of stress if he's doing a bunch of cutting. He's 3 months removed from surgery. It's crazy. But to that point of Billingsley and Borland, that's kind of a matchup that I'm looking for just overall. You have Billingsley, after Waddle's injury, has taken a much larger role in this offense. He had 1 catch in Alabama's first 6 games, and I think it's about 15 since then, with a handful of touchdowns. And so it's Ohio State's linebackers that I'm really most interested in. Borland is a really steady player, and if you can get Alabama limited up the middle, and that doesn't mean just running the ball. I view that as the tight end going up the seam too, screens, anything like that that's going to come up to the middle. We're talking tunnel screen kind of stuff. And if you can contain that, I think Ohio State's got a pretty big advantage, because then they can send a little extra help to Devontae Smith, because let's be serious, you have to give a little extra help to Devontae Smith. But if Ohio State can't really control what's in the middle and they have to keep focusing there, I'd be pretty concerned about Steve Sarkisian scheming his way past Ohio State secondary that really has not been all that good this year.
David, let's talk a little bit about Ohio State on offense. And if you're going to do that, you got to talk about Justin Fields. I thought the young man had an incredible performance against Clemson. We were all suspicious of Ohio State even being there, not having enough games. They go in there and they kick Clemson's butt. Talk to me a little bit about Justin and what we can expect from him, and if he's even healthy going into this game.
Yeah, that last part's a big qualifier. Look, what he did after that injury against Clemson was incredible, because as far as I was concerned, his rib cage or hip had exploded, one of the two. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't good. And to see him throw those 2 deep touchdowns in the second half, that was really head-turning. maybe it was just straight up adrenaline, and he has some of that today too, where like he was clearly in visible pain, and then he launches a 60-yard pass. Like that's just amazing. So if he's healthy and that's not a problem, sweet. Because Alabama too, if there is a weakness of this team, it is the secondary. Ole Miss had a really good day. Florida had a really good day. Texas A&M, even though that was lopsided, Kellen Mond threw for a lot of yards. So there is that potential that if you can beat Alabama deep, that's where you're going to have to make some of those plays. The thing that I'm concerned about with Fields and his health is how much is he going to scramble? Because if you look at Clemson, he stopped and he was extremely tentative with it. Like you could tell this is where, I normally go, but I'm holding back because I really hurt right now. And I get that. Trust me, I get that. But if he can't do that tonight, is he going to take sacks or is he going to force passes? And I think you can deal with the sacks because they're such an explosive offense. You can get that back. But if you see some of the interceptions that he's thrown this year, it's really just kind of like, what decision was that? And if you're making that decision in pressure, which is always a time where when you're less accurate, you have less confidence in the footing of the throw, the fundamentals may be off. It's a higher risk anyway because the coverage is probably better since you haven't thrown the ball yet. If you have 3, 4, 5 more of those, or 2 of them picked off, that changes the game enormously. But if he's healthy and, he can just scramble a little bit and maybe he just slides a lot more than we usually see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Because as far as he goes as a talent, I mean, it really has spoken for itself for the last 2 years that he's a first-round pick for the NFL without hesitation in my mind. I'm not the NFL draft expert, but I don't see how you watch him and not see this guy who really makes some good reads in an Ohio State offense that demands some pretty consistent progressions, and his ability to tuck it and run. He's going to give Alabama trouble. The knock on them has been containing dual threat quarterbacks for several years. And so he clearly fits that mold.
What about the news that their running back for Ohio State, Mayan Williams, I believe, did not make the trip down to Miami? Have we heard anything about that? And do we know the reason why he didn't make that trip?
Yeah, so that's really the big question with Ohio State in general. Williams himself, he's not really a big impact player, but Ohio State as a whole, there was the discussion of, hey, are we going to need to move the championship back because of the COVID protocols? And so we're going to find out, an hour or two before game time where somebody finally lets something slip of who's not going to be there. And I wish I could tell you that I had some insight on that right now. Trust me, we try. But I hope we'll get to that a little bit before the night. But that's the big complication of the game, that we just don't know if there's going to be any significant absence for either team, really, but particularly Ohio State, given what we knew about 6 days ago.
Guys, we're joined by David Kenyon from Bleacher Report, talking a little college football national championship right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. What do you do with Devontae? This guy is just an unbelievable freak of nature. It's been since 1993, I believe, since the last wide receiver won a Heisman. I think that was wide receiver Turner and Desmond Howard. He did both. Devontae is just a straight receiver, but this guy is a real freaking deal. What do you do to stop him? Because if you can't stop him, this can be over very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's a big concern. And you go to what do schematically the teams do. Now, Ohio State has played a lot more cover 3 this year. Last year was a lot of cover 1. They used kind of a hybrid linebacker safety deal to really keep the pressure forward. This year, they've gone to a lot more cover 3 because you don't have somebody like Jeff Okudah or Damon Arnett on the outside who were so good in press man particularly, that they could jam you off the line of scrimmage, and they could also say, hey, Jeff, you got that side. We trust you, buddy, but you got to have your side. But he always did. He was an All-American corner. The simple truth is Ohio State does not have that this year. Shawn Wade was incredible as a nickelback last year, but they moved him out to the outside this year. He's not been good. Like, he was an All-American, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, that's a terrible All-American pick. that was straight up name recognition, because he has not been good this year. And Clemson showed it again. So he said, I mean, God bless the kid, right? He wants the competition. He said, I know who I want to cover. And you know what? Alabama was like, I know I want you to cover him too. And so that sucks to say about, like a 20-year-old kid, but that's the simple truth of this, that Ohio State has to be able to roll coverage. And I'm curious how they're going to do that in predominantly cover 3, because Sarkisian is too smart to just be like, oh, okay, well, we'll just let him take Devontae out of the game, because he can move inside, outside. He runs crossing routes all the time. He's just so good at every route that you want him to run. He's going to get open. And he has such a good understanding of zone coverages that he'll settle wherever he needs to settle. So I wish I could tell you that I had the answer, but I think if I had the answer, I'd probably be on the sideline right now. It's just so complicated given what Ohio State does, what they like to do. You're either changing up your coverages in the national championship, which every coach will tell you want to stick to what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm curious if it'll be, it's called robber coverages for anybody who is familiar with that, where you bring the safety down and you have other people go back, basically, that it kind of messes with where the safety traditionally, where he would be in the quarterback's head. So maybe we see more of that. But I think that's probably the one tweak I'd say to look for, is see if the safety drops or if he's going to stay a little closer to the middle of the field. Like in the second level instead of back.
Yeah, if you play a robber coverage, you'll bring the safety in, kind of like a center fielder in. Yeah. But you a lot of times you'll drop the corners back, because corners are better at coverage. Because we used to run robber, not very much. We ran robber when I was coaching, and you drop the corners back because you want your guys who are best coverage guys. Because even safeties aren't great coverage guys per se. They might be ball hawks, they might be great hitters, they might be great, but they're not necessarily great cover guys. So what you do is you drop the corners will have deep halves or deep thirds or whatever, depending on what the formation or the coverage that you have, how you run your robber scheme, and have those guys, the good cover guys, back, and have the ball hawk, the safety in the middle, kind of roaming and seeing who's free. So that if they do that, then they're going to have to go over the top. But then if you go over the top, then you're going to have good cover guys over the top covering Devontae, which is what you need. So that's maybe what they do. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it, because this guy, like that room last year. I was looking at it was a meme, and the room last year was unbelievable. Where you had Jerry Jeudy, you had Riley, Henry Ruggs, and then it was you had obviously Devontae. Who was the Biletnikoff winner? Was it Ruggs?
Biletnikoff would have been Jeudy.
So last year, so you got the Heisman Trophy winner, and you got another first-round pick. So there's that room. Alabama is slowly but surely becoming wide receiver U. I mean, they might as well be called NFL training camp, because that's pretty much all they're doing is getting guys into the league with damn near every single position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're actually reminding me a lot of the way Miami was in the early 2000s and late 90s, where they had like a record amount of first-round draft picks over a period of like 3 or 4 years. So I agree with you there, Shawn. David, I guess my question is about the NCAA in general and this football season. They've made it through all the bowls. They basically just plowed their way through this thing, COVID or not. They had made up their mind, we're just going to go. Yeah, we probably shouldn't be playing, but we're going. And now here they are. They've made it through to this championship game. Just kind of your overall thoughts on that philosophy. Was it the right one? Was it the wrong one? What it's meant for the schools that have been able to play? Just wanted to hear kind of your overall thoughts on their decision to go ahead and play through this pandemic.
Yeah, I think the first thing that, it's probably tired at this point to say, but I'm not the medical expert here. I'm just a guy who writes about college football. I love watching college football. I know in August, Shawn and I had a lot of conversations that, man, we were not feeling very settled about it. I know we had specifically brought up at one point too, what if Trevor Lawrence gets COVID and misses a game? Like, because we didn't know, like, what's the hypothetical of this? And then to see that happen, it's just like, oh my goodness. So, I mean, what's it mean for the schools that didn't play? Honestly, given who didn't play, I wouldn't say all that much, because you're talking about like Connecticut, and, you know, Connecticut's really bad at football right now. So as far as that goes, I don't think it has a big impact on those who didn't play. I think the biggest thing is you're going to see now the FCS, like, they haven't even played their season. We're coming up to it, right? And so now we've got lower division football that's going to be played in the spring here. And I think they powered through and showed, generally speaking, like some schools, Boston College, I believe, did it really well, where they just didn't have issues. But then you have a lot of teams like SEC games were getting canceled every week. Pac-12 had very stringent protocols. They were canceling a ton. And I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. It was just the nature of what happened. Obviously, the money is too good. Like, that's the overall point, is the money is too good that they were not going to not play. To whatever they could do. And so, like you said, they powered through. Right or wrong, they powered through. Sitting here January 11th, I don't know that we know the impact of it. I think that's something we're going to have to see next year, because, again, I'm not the medical guy. You've had several players opt out of the season, or not even really opt out, be forced out of the season. Miami cornerback Al Blades Jr., for example, he was diagnosed with myocarditis. I don't know the impact of that. We'll find out down the road, and one way or another we got here, like you said. And I think down the line is when we'll figure out the for better or for worse part.
Guys, we're joined by David Kenyon from Bleacher Report, talking college football national championship game right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. One more question before we let you go. And it just came to mind as we were talking, as the FCS, or the 1AA for people who are kind of unsure, schools are preparing for their season. How is that going to affect the evaluation process, or the chances, likelihood of these guys getting to the next level? Because if you're done, if you tear an ACL week 1 in the college season, you're ready to go in the spring, summer, or by the combine. Okay. Then plus you need a time to rest. So this season, the FCS season is going to get over in what, April, May?
Yeah, I wanted to check just to be sure that I had the right date. The last weekend of the regular season for the FCS is April 17th.
And then they have a tournament.
Is May 16th.
Okay, so May 16th, the championship game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you got May to July. May, June, July. And so if you got people that it's going to, how tough is it going to be for these kids? Because you have to let your body recover, and then you have to lift again to get ready for the season. And there's just not enough months in that time frame from when you end, if you go deep into the playoffs, till you get to training camp or the draft. Or do you think a lot of these guys are going to be undrafted free agents?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, a lot of these guys are undrafted free agents anyway. You're really not going to have a ton. We're better at scouting in theory, just because of the availability of video and everything. And maybe it does help them a little bit. Like I said, I'll give you the first weekend of the season. I want to make sure I just get this totally correct. February 13th, games are starting, really starts in the 20th. And so maybe there is a little bit of an advantage for them to some degree, that you're going to have guys getting looked at in February and March by scouts who normally, they're not going to go to Missouri State and North Dakota when Alabama and Auburn are playing, So like maybe they are going to get some extra eyeballs this year in a way that's not normal. But at the same time, to your point too, that's a very small number of kids anyway. And so what we're really talking about is, the old NCAA commercials that they feel different now, but going pro in something other than sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the kids who don't really have a football future. But they do have a physical body that they need for the future. And this year is going to be so taxing that you have 3 months in the spring of full contact, not just spring practice learning. And then, yeah, like you said, you have basically 2 months to recover before you're back and going again. And I would have to imagine they're going to want to play a full season as normal. And man, I feel for the kids for sure, because this is going to be a very challenging time for those teams.
Guys, he's David Kenyon. Hey, I appreciate the time, David. Hey, man, I'm looking forward to tonight. Do me a favor, let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR. Find all my work on Bleacher Report, and I'll have something going up after the championship tonight. Don't know what that will be. I hope both teams have fun, right?
Should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, you got it, guys. I'll see you.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye. Guys, that was David Kenyon from Bleacher Report. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I really want to see how well Ohio State can hang with Alabama. You know, Alabama is, as we know, they're back up top again of the football world. You know, if they ever left, maybe they were down for a season or maybe two. But Nick Saban is just a phenomenal recruiter and has just gotten quarterbacks. I mean, just think of all the quarterbacks that started there. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Tua, and then there was one more.
McCall. I know who you're talking about. Is it CJ? No, I know you. I'm looking at his face.
I mean, you go and you got 3 quarterbacks just sitting there, and all of them can make the 2 of them are in the NFL right now. Jalen Hurts, he ended up going to Oklahoma, but Tua, and then the guy Tua took over for, and excuse me, they were just, and now they're the wide receiver. It's just amazing, and how is Ohio State going to deal with all this talent? And now again, it's only one game; it's not a series. So if you're not playing, if Alabama doesn't play its best, and Ohio State's comes up big, then there could be an upset. But I just don't think I just don't see it in the cards, Jay. I don't
either. McCarron, that's what you're talking about, CJ McCarron, quarterback, the one who had the pretty girlfriend, Miss Georgia. But yeah,
AJ McCarron.
Alabama's a beast, man. Nick Saban is, well, first of all, let's be honest. They make so much money. He should be able to recruit anybody he wants. They've got, probably the biggest budget out of everybody in college football. So you got that working for you. But yeah, I mean, they're just a monster, man. And they just reload every year, man. I wouldn't even call it recruiting. They just reload. And but one thing, when I talked to Luther Campbell, the one thing Luke said was that Nick Saban coaches his players. He's like, it's one thing to be able to get them, but once you get them there, you got to develop them. They come in with obviously some raw talent and potential, but he said Nick Saban, his coaching staff, they coach people really hard. And he said the proof of that is that you look at how much turnover Nick Saban has even amongst his coaching staff and where those coaches go off to, but still whoever he picks to replace them, they're still able to develop the players that they have in that program. So, I think I think he and Urban Meyer are 2 of the greatest coaches of, our generation, because they've been able to do it consistently and churn out some of the top football players in the world. So I'm expecting Alabama to win today. I do think they're going to win. I do think Jalen, I think the injury is going to catch up with him this week. I think last week, a lot of that was adrenaline. Shawn, you know as well. You get hurt during a big game, but if it's a big game and you're in the moment, your adrenaline can carry you through that injury. But oh boy, about 2 days later,
two days after the game, when you come down, that adrenaline slows down. When you get in the shower, like okay, this oh boy, it's going to be a rough one.
Right. So I just think the young man is really, he was very courageous last week. I'm sure he'll be very courageous this week. I'm sure they'll pump him with the best scientific medicine they have to get him out there on the field. But Alabama gonna be rough, man. But it should be a fun game, man. I'm still expecting Alabama to win by probably 14 or so, but it should be a fun game. I'll be entertained by it. They plowed their way through it. That's all we can say.
They got it done. They got it done. Man, they don't care about nothing but the money, and they got it done. Well, listen, we got to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to switch to NBA action and talk about our Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
We're down in the city of Angels the last couple of days with the Lakers and the Clips last night. And we're going to have our guy Josh Hicks from War Media calling in, talking to Bulls. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Breeze fakes it. Looking for someone to throw to under pressure. He dumps it underneath. Latavius Murray at the 5 across the goal line. Touchdown!
Saints Radio with the call. New Orleans pulled away for a 21-9 win over the Bears. New Orleans moving on to a divisional round matchup in the Superdome with Tampa Bay. Two of the oldest quarterbacks in the league will square off. 43-year-old Tom Brady for Tampa and the Saints' Drew Brees, who turns 42 this coming Friday. The Chicago offense struggled against the fourth-ranked defense in the NFL. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29 passing for 199 yards. His lone touchdown pass went to Jimmy Graham as time expired. Chicago held to just 48 rushing yards. In Sunday's NBA action, the Clippers nipped the Bulls 130 to 127. Chicago drops to 4-7 with a setback. This update brought to you by the Score app. Download the free Score app today. It's one of the most popular sports apps in North America. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Square Sweepstakes is back. Every time the score changes, someone wins $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends February 4th. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030. The NFL is not sponsored promotion in any way.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. It's the final break. So we're in the home stretch of the show today, and man, it's been pretty good. We didn't even get a chance to talk after our next guest for like 10 minutes. We're going to talk about the rest of the NFL. We're going to go to the hardwood. We're going to talk with our guy about this Bulls West Coast trip. He's on the West Side, hanging out with Snoop and them, and Dre, although Dre has the aneurysm. Hopefully he's all right. Shout out to Dr. Dre. But our next guy who works for War Media, and he's going to call in. He's going to talk with us about this Bulls. Rough one yesterday, but you can find him on Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media. Guys, let's bring him out. Joshua Hicks. Josh, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Shawn, how you doing? Glad to be back on. I hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you and the fam, and hope all is good in this 2021. I guess as good as it can be.
Right. Hope the same for you guys.
So big game yesterday for the Bulls. They had a West Coast trip that was a little rough. It got swept by the LA teams. Talk to me about this young team. How are you liking this young team under Billy Donovan? We've seen some flashes. We've seen some struggles. How are you liking this new and the way the players are responding to Billy the Kid?
It's amazing how when you have the right coach, how responsive players can be. Under Jim Boylen, it seemed like the players didn't buy into the system that he was trying to operate in. He didn't come off as a player's type of coach. Billy Donovan shows relativity and strong relationships, it seems like so far, starting the season with all of his players. And all of them have progressed in some way, shape, or form, especially when you're talking about the core foundational players of Zach LaVine, Kobe White, and Lauri Markkanen. And this West Coast trip really proved that. We know Zach LaVine can score pretty much anywhere on the court, whenever he wants on the court. And when he's up to it, he can give you 35 to 40, 45 a night like he did in both of the games on the West Coast trip. But to me, the real development of Kobe White and him really starting to finally understand not just the scoring point guard role, but also the facilitating role, how to find that balance. You can see growth in that department and how over time, even though we know Kobe Bryant may not be the 7, 8, 9, 10 assist guy that, he may be capable of doing, you can see the growth that he was making. And I love the actual improvement of Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams has shown that he can hang with the best, and he guarded Kawhi Leonard, he guarded LeBron James, and the entire games and down the stretch, and both of them complemented it very well. And even LeBron admitted that he sees similarities of Kawhi Leonard in Patrick Williams, which is something that for Bulls fans, especially defensively, you like to see. And in the Clippers game, Patrick Williams actually showed an offensive stretch where he can, where the ceiling could be pretty high for him, where he was actually shooting the ball very efficiently and effectively, picking his spots when necessary. So there's growth. It's a lot more progressive than it has been under Jim Boylen. But even though the Bulls aren't the playoff team that we know that eventually down the line we hope they would be, you got to be excited with the small amounts of growth over time that you're seeing, especially in a year where practice has been limited, training camps limited. And this new management and new front office really had a very small amount of time to really get things together for the season to pick up during the pandemic year.
You mentioned Patrick Williams, and you touched on a lot of things, good things about him. Why do you think this kid is so productive so soon? This kid, he's shown a much better offensive game than we thought he had coming out of college, although he was Florida State's leading scorer, even though he was a sixth man. What is it about this kid's game that has translated? Because there's only 1 year in college. What is it about his game that's translated to the NBA that's made him so productive and projects him to be a star? I don't know about superstar, maybe down the road, but definitely a star in the next couple of seasons.
Patience. I think the thing for him was just been patient and the composure. Playing under Leonard Hamilton. Hamilton is known. He has the body type that he's accustomed to coaching. That's a legendary Hall of Fame coach. Hamilton knows what it's like to put versatility on the court and to exploit the best out of that versatility. He's, as a matter of fact, in the beginning of the season, prior to the season starting, he made it known that Patrick Williams he may not have been the starter, but he was for sure he was our closer. He was the finisher. He was on the floor in the big moments when it mattered. And most of it is because of his skill set. His skill set is very fundamental. And when you utilize those fundamentals at the highest level, it creates the efficiency and the effectiveness that you need on the court overall. And when you understand your skill set and combine that with playing your role effectively and understanding your role, that's where that symmetry along with the team really gets to show. And that's what you see in Patrick Williams. He understands he's not a scorer. He understands that his role is not to put balls in the bucket, but to defend effectively, be that 1A defender on the perimeter that can go along with Zach LaVine on the perimeter and alleviate that pressure off of Zach LaVine from having to guard the best player on the court. And the fact that he's able to utilize his length, his big hands, his very firm statured body, which is a really big NBA body at the age of 19, is very impressive nowadays. So to have that and fit that into a system where the Bulls want to exploit versatility in every lineup that you can, it just seems like a match made in heaven. And this is what AK is known for. When I say AK, Arturas Karnisovas. He's known for drafting players that fit the system, and you get and developing that talent around within the system and culture that's being created. And you just seen glimpses of what that looks like under Patrick Williams so far.
Hey, Joshua, one of the things I'm using to judge the progress of this team is actually them losing and how they're losing. I think a lot of fans understand you can learn a lot about how your team is actually losing. They lost by 3 last night to the Clippers. They played the Lakers pretty doggone well. In seasons past, we've seen them losing to teams with lesser talent than them and getting blown off the court. How is this team losing to you in this season so far?
They're losing with fight. They're fighting. And within that fight, there's also growth. Under Jim Boylen, you didn't see a lot of, even under Jim Boylen, it was under a lot of close games. But at the same time, you didn't see the constant growth of players really trying to perfect those tight game situations. Having someone like Billy Donovan, who is accustomed to coaching under pressure, and being able to and known to make the proper adjustments needed is really showing a positive light on the Bulls. And we have to also remember too, even though especially these last couple of games, they've been without Larry Marketing. They've been without key stars like Thomas Satoransky, Otto Porter, who recently just came out with back spasms. You know, those are key players that can play a role in this offense, and they've been out of the loop. So you got to give credit to veteran players like Thaddeus Young, who stepped in and played very key conservative minutes and have that veteran mentality that understands the game to a point where it kept the Bulls afloat for these tight game situations. I think, if anything, we just know that the Bulls, at the end of the day, we need a superstar. We need a closer. We need someone that can seal the deal when games matter. And that's what you always expect out of a young team. But the fact that they've been fighting and the way that they fought back in these tight games and kept things very, very close and at least exciting, that's a positive step moving forward when you're talking about changing the progression of this Bulls team compared to basically being the same roster as what they had last year and seeing the vast differences.
Speaking of closers, Kawhi Leonard yesterday got unmasked. He got to play without that protective face shield after having to get 8 stitches from getting hit in the face. He puts up 35 points and goes over the 10,000-point career mark. Talk a little bit just about Kawhi. I think he really burst on the scene in Toronto, obviously leading them to the championship. And now he's been out there for the Clippers. This is not his second season out there. Just talk about this guy and where you see him among the greats currently playing the game.
Currently, he's for sure top 5 best player in the league, and arguably the best two-way player in the league because he's known for his defense, but over time offensively, especially since he left San Antonio going to Toronto, his offensive game really picked up to a point where he became a go-to offensively. I think what happened last year with him was obviously adjusting to coming back home, playing for a team, playing for the opposite team, trying to play against the best. I think he ultimately realized that he's not that veteran leader per se. He's not he might not be that vocal leader. And it was also reported where he actually came out and said, like, I'm treating this now, it's not like just a hobby. This is a legit job for me now. He's realizing and understanding that with this change of motion in his life, he has to take things seriously and in a different approach. And I think because he took that different approach, you saw what he did yesterday, where we know he can be that guy of old down the stretch where he can give you buckets at any time, at any point in the game, but at the same time be that defensive stopper. So I think that having the debacle that happened last year, losing to the Denver Nuggets, blowing that 3-1 lead, I think that really changed the mentality game for guys like Kawhi Leonard, guys like Paul George, for them to come back and really be more aggressive. And that's what you're seeing especially between the duo of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Guys, we're joined by Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio, talking a little Bulls basketball right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning. One of the guys that I really like, I really, 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 really like this guy, and he's a high energy guy. He's a rebound. He's a block shots. He's just full of life. Is Daniel Gafford. Talk to me about him and his role this year, and how do you see him living up to that role?
Daniel Gafford is like you said, he's a hype man. He's your Montrezl Harrell. He's pretty much someone who he may not have the full offensive skill set, but if you give him 10, 15 minutes a night to play defense and rebound to the ball, he's going to pretty much end up with that game with at least pretty much double digits in rebounds. Like, he's that guy that's that huge spark off the bench. I think what made him so much more effective, though, is because of the pick and roll game. When you have depending on your offense, especially in that second unit, even though Wendell we know he can play in the paint per se, he's still struggling to find his comfort spots. He's still trying to figure out this offense. And sometimes depending on who you have on the court, you just need someone that can space. And when you have someone that can space and just focus on the role offensively of rebounding the ball, or focus on playing good defense as a defensive stopper, that's where Daniel Gafford can slide into that type of role. And you see how there's a vast difference, especially even from last year, from having the offensive unit and the different sparks that come in that second unit when you have Otto Porter coming in to go along with a Daniel Gafford, or at times with a Thaddeus Young. Guys that can give you that quick spark because they know their roles. Gafford knows his role, and his role is defense and rebound. You put him in a system where he can thrive in that, you're going to get Montrezl Harrell type of looks. And slowly but surely over time, he's going to fill that role and be that good role for the Bulls. But right now, he's a good fit just because when that second unit comes in, and marketing's out the game or Wendell's out the game and they're low on the big man department, he's gonna step in and give you hard minutes, hard work, and he'll get you at least multiple second possessions when it comes to offensive rebounding and also secure that paint defensively.
Yeah, he also dunks on your head too, because that boy don't play. He does not. I don't think he knows what a finger roll is. I think it is all watch your head is all it is. And you know what? When you're down there with the big boys, that's the way you got to play. And he plays with intensity. And the thing about it is that you get a reputation. People know that he's going to flush it. And so if they realize you got up a half a second late, well, they just not even put their hand up because now you're looking at a broken wrist because he ain't playing. This dude is dunking on your head. This dude is looking for and ones. And you talked about the lack of a polished offensive game. Hell, if you can dunk on people's heads and get 10, 12 points, hey, that's a nice day at the office. 10, 12 points, 10, 12 rebounds, and a couple of block shots and steals and good pick and rolls and good screens. Dude, that's a role for him. And, it's an exciting role for the fans because we know whenever he's in the pick and roll, you better watch out. Watch it, check your neck because you might get flushed on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look about history, Dennis Rodman made it to the Hall of Fame. He was no near an offensive guru. He made it to the Hall of Fame and helped the Bulls win 3 titles. You got Montrezl Harrell, who just became the 6th man of the year, and he averaged, 15 and he pretty much averaged a double-double coming off the bench, and he has no offensive skill set. A lot of his points was pretty much rebounds and off pick and rolls too. So there is a role for him to excel and still be elite. And at the end of the day, if he can fill that role, especially for a championship type of level team, that's the type of guys they would look for the Bulls to have that right now and trying to get to that type of level of competitiveness. It's a good asset to have.
Josh, I've come to the conclusion that the Bulls are never going to be a great defensive team with this unit they currently have. But is it also just that the NBA is just now more scoring is what we were seeing? They're going back to playing like games in the late 70s and 80s where 130 is almost the norm. Or so is it just the style of the game has changed, or is it that the Bulls team defense is really that bad?
I think it's a combination of both. Just because of the fact that you have to change your defensive matchups because the game is so offensively driven. They didn't have players back in the day that's pulling up from 35 plus. You have multiple guys doing that now, and that's the norm. So to be able to have that type of defense, or to play that type of defense, you're going to be spread out more. And the Bulls have a lot of guys where even though you can hang around the perimeter, they have more paint defenders. Not a lot of people are going to the paint nowadays. Everything's a perimeter. Mm-hmm. So because of being so perimeter driven, you got to be able to adjust to where you can maintain it or contain the 3-point line, which is very hard to do nowadays. So, but at the same time, the Bulls, this is a new system. They only played 8 games in, I believe. So they're still trying to adjust themselves and figure out how to play these different defensive schemes under Billy Donovan and a more experienced coaching staff compared to the coaching staff they had last year. So I think it's a combination of both.
Hey, Josh, great stuff, buddy. We appreciate it. Do me a favor, let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh M. Hicks Media.
Great stuff, buddy. We appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it, guys. You guys stay blessed out here.
All right, now. Guys, that was Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio or War Media. Talking Bulls, baby. I'm excited. They play Boston Celtics tomorrow at home. It's the next home game. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys play tomorrow. One of the things I wanted to get back to, Jay, was me and you. I want to get back to the NFL and the games. I'll tell you what, even though the Bears made the playoffs and people would complain about, oh my God, the Bears didn't deserve it, blah, 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 blah. They didn't deserve it. I agree. But having 3 games on Saturday and Sunday, man, oh man, wild card weekend. I thought that was phenomenal. I thought it really kept people in front of the TV. It was a crazy thing. And what about that? I'm just talking about the biggest game. The biggest upset was the Browns versus Steelers. Yeah. You come back, you blink, and all of a sudden they're up 28-0. Like, whoa, what the hell happened? Baker Mayfield is getting so much more of my respect and getting so much more respect from around the league. Who'd have thunk it when they got rid of Odell Beckham Jr. But this team is really, they have a phenomenal running game in Kareem Hunt. They still have stud wide receivers. Talk to me about that Cleveland-Pittsburgh game.
So you know what? Here's my thing on the whole Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. I do agree with you. Cleveland's made tremendous progress, leaps and bounds. But I'm going to say this because it was a concern of mine when it happened. And again, this kind of gets back to the COVID relation. Pittsburgh was the hottest team in the league for much of the season. And then what happened? The COVID stuff kicked in, and they ended up having to play 3 games in like 12 days, something ridiculous like that. And they've never been the same. They've never been the same ever since that time. It's not the same Pittsburgh team. And this is why, I've taken the stance that everybody who wins the championship in every sport, in every category this year, gets an asterisk from me. Everybody's getting an asterisk. I'm not saying they didn't win their championship, but they're getting an asterisk. Pittsburgh was clearly the top team in AFC. And then the COVID stuff hit them. They ended up playing those 3 games. And I just think, and you and I are free to chime in on this because you guys played it. That's a lot to put on a human body, man, especially professional football in that short a period of time. And I think it did something to this team physically that broke them, and they never recovered.
It's a crazy stress. The most games I ever played was 3 games in 7 days. So my senior year at St. Rita, we played Loyola, the last game of the season, and Loyola was notorious for having Sunday games. Mm-hmm. So we played on Sunday, and then back then that was 1988. The first round of the high school playoffs was on Wednesday. Mm. So then we played St. Pat's on Wednesday, and we barely beat them. It was 14-13 or 14-12, something like that. They went for the 2-point conversion for the win, and our defensive tackle ended up going to Notre Dame. Brian Hamilton stopped them from converting, so we ended up winning. But then on Saturday, we ended up playing, I don't know if it was Evanston or if it was Gordon Tech again. But so 3 games in 7 days, and that was crazy. And that was only high school. So I can't, imagine, the pounding that a professional football player would take and to play that many games. You just don't. That's why people complain about the Thursday night game and the quality of the games, because you don't get a full chance to recover. I think that had a huge thing to do with it. But the NFL, like college football, they power through it. Like, we need to get this money. We got these sponsors. We got, these advertisers. They want their name heard. We want their money. And whoever's gets caught by the COVID, hey, you get caught by the COVID. So it is what it is. It literally came down to the bottom line, and that was cash rules everything around me, and they pushed through.
Yeah, they pushed through, and then I think it's a combination of things. It's the COVID, the 3 games in 12 days, the fact that they were beating teams, they were beating lesser teams, but they were also beating teams in a specific way that got very old very quick, and that was throwing the ball. If you look at Ben Roethlisberger yesterday, the man had 68 attempts. He had 68 attempts passing, right? Like, you got to look at that, and then look at the leading rusher, James Conner. I believe he just got a tick over 10 carries for like 30-something yards. You're one-dimensional. The team's a one-dimensional team on top of all the ailments, all the obstacles that they had to endure. All teams had to endure. It's a combination of things. They really need to go and start looking for their next franchise quarterback. I'll say that, because I don't think, as good as Ben was, I think Ben athletically his body's done. I look at him, I'm like, man, he looks like he is struggling out there.
Yeah. And he's never been the most fleet of feet anyway. So no. It's definitely hurt them. I tell you, the team I was really impressed with, Shawn, on Saturday was the Buffalo Bills.
And I won't choke like the Buffalo Bills.
I like the Bills, but I was more impressed with just not so much the Ravens, but Lamar, because he could have just laid back. Like, he really could have just laid. They could have just went another year and been out of the playoffs quickly. But he ended up stepping up and did what he did best in order to beat them late in the game, and that's running the ball. If you do what you do best, if they were bottling them up so much in the first half that they had 4 sacks, I think. They had 4 sacks in the first half on Lamar Jackson. That's pretty crazy. I just thought he did a good job going into the locker room and saying, all right, forget this mess. I'm going to do it myself. And that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend, again, as I said, was unbelievable as far as the action from those. I think the NFL has found something. I think they may end up continuing to have these 7 teams because it was so entertaining, and it's all they took over the whole weekend because three games like on Sunday to three different slots takes you from noon till, depending on the last game, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that's the whole, basically all the waking hours. You go get a brunch at 9 or 10 or 11 in the morning, come back and that first game's on, and then boom, it's on. Just switch from channel to channel, and you're there until 10 o'clock. So, I think the NFL found another moneymaker like they need it.
It had a tournament feel. I don't know if you guys felt that, but like the weekend had like a tournament feel, like a March Madness type of feeling. Like this game's on, then this game, and then tomorrow this game's about to come on, and we're gonna figure out. It had that type of vibe. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was really fun. Football nonstop all day.
Yeah, it was good. Well, listen, 3 hours has come and gone, and man, oh man, what a show. I want to thank our guests, Lester Wilfong from Windy City Gridiron, for calling in and talking Bears with us. I want to thank our guest David Kenyon from Bleacher Report for talking about college football playoffs. Also want to thank Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio for calling in, talking Bulls with us. Then, of course, the usual cast of characters. We had Joseph Phillips for the first hour, Kenneth Davis for the second hour, and my man Jason Palmer for the anchor leg, the 11 to 12 o'clock hour. And also my guy, my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife himself, Ivan Vargas, my co-host, my in absentia, Maya Kai, and Elliot Baez, our executive producer, and our social media guy, Clarence Council. All you guys all put together allowed us to make it a great, great show. So we're going to come back in 45 hours, and we'll see you on Wednesday. I'm excited. So for Jason Palmer. Oh, hold on. We got it. That's right. What? Who do you got on today?
So tonight, we're coming on at 5:30 tonight because the national championship game starts at 7. We're only doing a 90-minute show tonight. We're coming on at 5:30. Okay, so that's the first thing that everybody needs to know. We are talking the college football championship with our guy, Jamar Harp. He's got a show here on SportsZone Chicago. Jamar is going to join us. We're going to talk some college football with him. Also joining us to talk some college football and a little bit of the Bears is the head coach of Morgan Park's football team, Coach CJ. CJ is going to join us. He's got a player that's playing in tonight's championship game. So we're going to talk about that and talk a little football. And then we're going to throw a little hockey in too, because the Blackhawks first game is Wednesday. No preseason. We just going to start this thing. And we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but our guy Corey Crawford retired. That's something you and I have been talking about for the last year or two. So thank you, Crow, for everything you did for the Blackhawks. So that's what we got coming up on tonight on What's Up, Cuz, with myself and Lance Urban at 5:30.
Yeah, we hit him in the top of the morning segment. We talked about Crowbird, and hats off to you. You put 2 extra Stanley Cups in our trophy case, and we couldn't be happier. So for Jason Palmer and my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas.
Go Bulls!
Go Hawks!
Pitchers and catchers reporting soon.
Yeah, right, baseball, baby.
I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. We're going to take a 45-hour break. We'll see you on Wednesday, 9 a.m. to noon Central Standard Time. Until then, we got 2 words for you folks. We out.